before us. Is there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Reeve, administration would recommend the two additions to the agenda. 9.5.1, under corporate services, financial sustainability framework.
That's 9.5.1.
Correct. And under 9.6.1, Stepping Stones Crisis Society Proclamation Request. 9.5.1, the Financial Sustainability Framework, and 9.6.1, Stepping Stones Crisis Society Proclamation Request.
Any other additions to the agenda? Seeing none, looking for a motion to jump to amended.
I just have a
Yes, go ahead.
question. The one item there is quite large that I got handed this morning for the financial framework. And I really haven't had time to look through it, and I'm wondering if we can bring that to the next meeting or committee of the whole instead of today. We actually have time to look at it ahead of time. It does, unless it's emergent, it doesn't look like it's emergent to me, but.
Through the chair, I believe the reason that the General Manager of Corporate Services would like, I don't think it's a detailed, but it's a framework, as particularly as in less than a week, we are moving into budget deliberations. So I think that was the reason that it's considered an emergent request, is to have a discussion about what the long-term financial sustainability looks like and the keys to that and the framework for that as we move into budget in a week. There won't be another council meeting before budget.
I think we could also take a few minutes to read it.
Okay.
You know, once we have a break, we can take a little longer break if you want to go through it then.
Okay.
And
Sounds
if you
good.
have any questions, you can ask some questions at that time.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that works.
All right, any other?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended then.
All right, thank you, Deputy Reeve Crick, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves the adoption of the agenda with the following additions: new business corporate services, financial stability framework, 9.6 chief administrative officers, 9.6.1 stepping stones crisis society proclamation request. Any discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Looking for a motion of 3.1 regular meeting of council for October 10th, 2000. Yes, Councillor Swigert? Thank you, Councillor Swigert, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves adoption of the minutes of October 10, 2023 regular meeting of council as presented. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Also looking for committee meeting of council for October 17, 2023. Looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Slipchuk, for making a motion on behalf of council. That council approves adoption of the minutes of the October 17, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting as presented. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. We have 3 delegations today. 5.1, the Cold Lake Library Board, are they here? All right, ladies.
Good morning, Your Worship and Council. Thanks for having us here today.
Good morning. Excuse me, ladies, can we turn the mic on? Just, it's a simple push button there. Yep, right on, thank you. You're on.
There we go. Perfect. All right, so my name's Crystal Lovengray. I'm here on behalf of the Cold Lake Public Library Board. And with me joining is Leslie Price. She is the library director. So yes, new for the board this year, we actually have 2 new board members that have joined us since February. We are always looking for more and advocating for more members to help direct the library. Next slide, please. October is Library Month. There are a few initiatives taking place to celebrate the public libraries. Right now, there's currently a scarecrow promotion for families to create their own scarecrows for them to be displayed in the Reading Garden at the South Branch. The Four Wing Cold Lake Bass Band also came out last week to join for an evening of celebration. And one of the other final initiatives is local artists have been asked to create small canvases to display what the library means to them. So those will be up on display as well too within the next month or so, ongoing. Next slide, please. So here is our vision statement, which is something that we still stand behind. And the next slide, please. As well as our mission statement. The board feels that this is still reflective of the programming, so we are fully supportive of this as well too. Next slide, please. So there are several programs that are offered towards community members of all ages. And next slide, please. So for the past 8 months, you can see there that we've had just over 20,000 interlibrary loans and circulation of just under 54,000. For the walk-in traffic, it's to be projected by the end of 2023 to have just under 36,000 patrons come into either of the branches to take part in programs and any of the other services that are offered. And there was a promotion for free memberships. I do believe it was May,
Yes,
June?
we normally
In
have
May?
free memberships all the time.
Well, free memberships, but I know there was a big push for public libraries to encourage new members to come out. So between January and August, we've actually had 1,745 active memberships that are new to the branches. And
Maybe mention that about 1/3 of that is MD residents.
yeah, and board and staff are always promoting and advocating for the libraries. And so we're hoping to really see that increase in 2024 as well too. So in both the branches, we're close to about 60,000 items that are both print material and non-print. That could include, I know it's going to be dated, but CDs are part of that, DVDs as well. Just in the children's section, we also have baking pans that have been added for members of the community to come and sign out from the library as well too.
Do you have any 8-tracks? Because some of us know what 8-tracks are. So.
No, unfortunately, I don't think we have any of those kicking
Okay.
around.
Although we did have somebody just donate an 8-track player. It was really
Oh,
popular.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, we're dating ourselves very muchly on that one there. So yeah, here's just a couple snapshots of some moments over the past 8 months. There have been some art displays that have come in from provincial agencies. Cold Lake Public Library has continuously been invited to Treaty Days out in Cold Lake there. So you can see there's a little pop-up booth there as well. Every Thursday, the Cold Lake Public Library also visits the Cold Lake Friendship Center as a pop-up library there as well too. And there is just a couple moments in the children's section there as well. Next slide, please. All right, so there are several programs that are geared towards the different demographics within our communities. So for that, it has been achieved, as I mentioned, the pop-up Indigenous libraries. There was also several newcomers to the area this summer due to brief relocations of the forest fires that were taking place. And so they all received temporary membership as well too, to be able to take advantage of all the services that the library can offer. They've also, at the public library, acquired both reading materials and written materials for any of our Ukrainian newcomers that have joined us in both Cold Lake and Bonnyville. Next slide, please. So this here are some beautiful photographs of the reading garden that you can find at the South Branch. Just this year, the Cold Lake Public Library was selected in the 2023 Communities in Bloom Miracle Grow Best Garden Selection Award, and they were awarded as one of the top gardens in the city of Cold Lake. And this is an ongoing project with multiple additions being added. I know this is a point of pride within the Cold Lake Library, just so it's a nice place for families just to come sit and read if they want, or take advantage of the nice green space that is being built there. So for the budget here, the library will be operating in a slight deficit for the upcoming year. There is a surplus that will be utilized if needed. And next slide, please. So as you can see there, these are, what are they called? What would you
Per
call them?
capita.
Per capita, there we go. So that's what we receive both from the City of Cold Lake and the MD of Bonnyville. And, or what we're asking for.
Yep.
So yes, over the next year, the public library will also be approaching companies and other agencies for grants, as the next major initiative that is outlined within the strategic plan is to update the flooring within the children's section at the South Branch Library. Leslie here will be submitting an application for a matching grant to assist with those costs, as that will be the next main project that will be coming up for the library. And that's all that I have for you today. Any questions at all for Leslie, because she knows what's going on?
Okay. Councillor Kraviak?
Thank you for your presentation. You said you'll be operating in a slight deficit this year?
That's correct.
It's actually a slight surplus because your revenue is 772,000 and your expenses are 771.
Oh, that's a tiny slide.
What's that?
Yes.
Yes, so the deficit is showing in the actual budget there that we've included that amount of money to cover the expenses. It's in our revenue. Is that what you're asking me? I'm not sure. So
Yeah.
our budget balances, so we've included our surplus right in the top in the revenue.
Yeah, just,
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Yeah.
underneath the City of
Yeah.
Cold Lake.
And we wanted to place that in there because the board was mentioning that, you know, we didn't want either one of the councils to think we're gonna come back for more money because we're running short, so we wanted to make sure that that was showing.
Any other comments or questions?
So
Yes.
that surplus, is that from last year, the $21,347?
It's an accumulation of about 3 years,
Okay,
yeah.
and it's being used.
We
in-
try not to have a surplus because we do need every penny, but we've been fortunate in the last few years of getting some significant donations from some oil companies and other industry. So we've been able to end up having a little bit extra money at the end of the year because of the significant donations we received.
Okay, right on. Thanks.
All right.
Mr. Reeve, just
Yes.
a question about memberships.
Yes.
Are they free in Cold Lake?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And so what is membership city 4,000? What does that mean?
The city of Cold Lake supports us in that. They give us that money on top of what they give us on the budget. When we first went to getting free memberships, we asked them for just a small token to help us, make up that revenue. And ever since then, they've given us the money to
Okay.
do that.
Thank you.
Yes, Deputy Reeve, correct.
One more question. There, on the page right after the one that's up there, there's a logo increase that's covering up the MD of Bonnyville's logo. What is that for?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Sorry, on the page there's a logo that says increase, and it's covering up the MD of Bonnyville.
Yes, and we don't have that on there, so it's an increase of $1. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. And half of our slides missing there too, so. Not sure what happened there.
Well, any other questions? Well, ladies, great presentation. Congratulations on your award for the garden. That'd be a beautiful place to sit and read a book or just relax. That's good on you guys. Yeah, appreciate that.
Right on. Thank you,
All right,
Ashley, for
have
your
a great
time
day.
today.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support in the past.
Yes.
Well, you're very welcome. Looking for a motion? Yes. Thank you, Councillor Fidea, for making a motion on behalf of council. That council accepts a presentation by the Cold Lake Library Board on their 2024 budget as information and furthermore directs administration to bring their request for additional funding support to the 2024 budget deliberations for consideration. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Is our 11 o'clock delegation here? Yes? You're by yourself, sir? Yes. All right, come on up.
Morning, Mr. Reeve and council. Thank you very much for allowing me to present.
Good morning.
I am Bernard Lefebvre with Innovative Developments Group, a small development company out of Cold Lake for the MD of Bonnyville. I'll give you a little history on our information here. Next slide. The Innovative Development Group is a land development group that seen as a need for some industrial subdivisions or lots, specifically on the west side of Cold Lake. So in doing so, we checked out the MD's Highway 55 area structure plan some time ago and found a few properties that would fit that. So we purchased a property on the corner of Highway 55 and 897 back in 2013. The focus was for industrial and for oil field services and in hopes of some work or some land available for any developments for the base, because that is the back gate access, is 897. The location of the parcel specifically is northwest of 1363-4, fronting onto two highways, 8 kilometers west of Cold Lake. We have presently 11 unsold lots in these two phases of development with 80 acres left remaining to develop. Highway widening for phase 2 development agreement. A request from the MD was for a highway widening projected by Alberta Transportation for a type 3A on 897 is where access is to the parcel and the properties. So in preparation in 2013, we started this. We have 2 phases of development complete or near completion, and in preparation of the future with the carbon capture, the oil field ongoing activity, and then what's happening on the air base with the new fighter jets. We anticipate there's going to be some more need for those, so we'd like to be prepared. In anticipation of this demand, we are increasing the activity for that and feel that we should do some additional work. Next. Here's some aerial shots just to give you a bit of perspective of the property Highway 55 on the larger picture, there's Highway 55 and the intersection that leads to 897. West 55 Industrial Park is in the back there. There's about 10-acre parcel in front of it's fully treed that is not owned by us. So the back area was developed and cleared and lowered or leveled so that it could be used for industrial purpose. Just
Everybody
one-
know where that is? Council?
If we can go back one moment, I just have one more thing to say. That 897 to be widened, that's the intersection that is in question here, or that we're discussing. We'd like to have your input on. Next slide. So our concerns is other developments within the MD of Bonnyville have had the MD pay for all or a portion of their widening the highway, and that's part of the reason we're here today. So just a little background on this. Our neighboring partner, we had negotiated with them for about a year on buying a few pieces of land so that they could put their business there. They thought the value was too high for these parcels because we've taken the cost of developing them to the point that they can be sold and meet the criteria that the MD, has needs, which is services. These properties need to have services available. In doing so, they decided to look elsewhere and found an 80-acre parcel across the street and purchased it. Unfortunately, by doing that, they didn't have to pay any development costs. They didn't have to do any highway widening. They had none of those additional costs, so of course their land was cheaper than what it was for those that are developed with paved roads and lighting. They also didn't pay any additional off-site levies, which the MD, as of right now, does not charge off-site levies for future developments of highways, et cetera. Next slide. So I'm thinking if we can share these costs with the MD. So our request to council is consider paying all or a large portion of the widening of the highway. This can assist with future development and economic development within the MD. We have attached two proposals, one from SC Design that has been doing the work on the project to this point, and a company called CAT Engineering. We had requested 3 quotes, but we only received 2 back. CAT Engineering has indicated that they would be happy to do a portion of the work for some of the funds until they could do some of their testing to get a detailed price breakdown, much like the one that SC Design has provided. So with our package, and was given to you as the attachments, is the proposed subdivision agreement on file with the MD of Bonnyville, a letter to the planning and development that I had sent back in March of 2023 requesting some assistance, and hence why I'm here today, and quotes from those 2 companies, SC Design and CAT Engineering. So we believe a large development within the MDV should receive funding for large costs like highway widening. This could be a forward-moving thing with off-site levies put into place. So I thank you, and if you have any questions, if you want to go over any of the quotes, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Scarson.
So the widening is basically from the intersection to Highway 55, is that right? Like the intersection going into the industrial park?
The intersection was required to be on 897. We cannot enter onto Highway 55 from that development, so it's on 897 actually.
Yeah, so from where you enter the park to Highway 55 is what needs to be widened?
No, the widening's been done there. That was done many years ago. It's a turning lane essentially from the development onto Highway 897.
Yeah, it's just down, it's towards the south, correct? South of Highway 55.
Exactly, yeah,
How far down? Quarter mile?
roughly.
Okay. Yeah, and the It's treated both ways on Highway 55 to Primrose and to the base. It's already all done there.
Totally done.
You're just
You bet.
looking for.
So if you go to
on-
this one picture here where it says Highway 897 to be widened, and it shows kind of like the approach.
Yeah, that approach is going east, I believe, off of 897. About
Yeah,
a-
so now you need to add a turning lane to basically goes to the north from there?
No, that's the actual intersection that would be widened on the development side of the street, or road.
You'd be going to the north or south from there, correct?
That's correct.
I guess I just don't understand so the work has been done or it hasn't been done?
Has not been done. No, this is a requirement with our.
So what needs to be
development
widened right now?
agreement. Exactly.
What needs to be widened?
This
Right there.
intersection, 897, to be widened where it says there, it goes into the development. So they want a turning lane if you're going north to enter into development, and if you're leaving the development, going south, or sorry, going north again, you would need that.
You see the buildings up top on the top, the West 55? Well, those buildings are the same buildings that come down to
Yeah,
897.
I'm just looking at that one picture on the bottom corner there. So basically that intersection needs a turning lane and a turning lane on each
Yeah.
side of it.
Well, in this case, it'd only be to the
Only one side.
development. Yeah, one side.
Only one side now?
Yeah.
To the north?
No,
Going east into the development. Sorry.
it goes north and south. You gotta turn both ways, yeah.
897 goes north and south.
Yeah,
If that approach comes comes west, you're driving out of your
Yep.
park to the west.
Yep.
Now I'm asking, what work needs to be done there?
Okay, so
So you said the two turning lanes, now you're saying one? So
Okay.
what is it that needs to be done?
everything on the east side of the road has to be widened. A turning lane in and a.
North and south of
an
your
approaching
approach.
road out,
yep.
yes.
Okay.
So it's a type 3A, which says only one side of the road needs to be widened.
One side of 897. you're saying.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
There's already a bunch of development in that subdivision. So are they saying it has to be widened, like, to develop any more, or it just has to be widened, period, or what?
The intention, I believe, was that it would, with the additional traffic, they felt that phase 2 would be a good time to widen that.
Okay. So in order to develop any more, it needs to be widened.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you, sir, for your presentation today. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Just looking for a motion, gentlemen. Counselor Swigert?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to accept that for information.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Swigert, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council accepts the presentation by Innovative Developments Group Incorporated as information, furthermore directs administration to bring their request for funding assistance to widen a primary highway for their industrial subdivision located at Northwest 1363, 3 west of the 4th M to a future meeting of council for consideration. Any discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, that's carried. Do we have the Glendon Library Board here? Yes, come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Carla Payton. I'm here on behalf of the Glendon Public Library Board. Mrs. Noreen Cotton sends her regrets and her apologies for not being able to attend the meeting today. I'm here to request funding from the council to help us get our new public library up and running. So the ministry suggests that public libraries should be open throughout the years at times the community can make the most effective and convenient use of library services. Their recommendations are included in the best practices for public libraries in Alberta booklet, categorized by population served, ranging from essential to enhanced to excellent. Our goal is to be open to the public at least 30 hours a week, putting us in the enhanced category for a population size of up to 1,200 residents. Our current funding is not enough to finance this goal, as library staff will have to be hired in addition to getting the technology we need and whatnot. First impressions by definition are the almost instant conclusions we draw when being introduced to something for the first time. We understand how important this is for our public library. Our intention is to be almost fully equipped and functional within the first few months in order to draw in and engage the community as much as possible right from the beginning. An engaging and inviting atmosphere is critical when presenting a new concept to the public. Contrary to popular belief, libraries are not a thing of the past, but due to technology, they are thriving because we are evolving with them. What better way to communicate that message to the public than with a fantastic first impression? Public libraries are one of the only services for communities that are open and accessible to all members of the community. Being completely inclusive and accessible will require some additional resources to be put in place. Some of these additional resources could be additional staff, additional spaces, and the purchase of additional material or equipment. Ongoing professional development for our staff and board are also crucial. Our vision is to evolve and grow as we learn about the diverse needs of our community and continue to strive to meet the needs of all members. Currently, our library offers groups within the community the ability to come in and join us for library time. We don't currently have the ability to offer public access to computers, which is, of course, one of our not only goals, but it is mandated by the Northern Lights Library System that we have public access to technology, printing services, stuff like that. So we have several, this is my favorite time of the day, by the way. We have several community groups that come in. Like I said, we do library time with them. It lets our youngsters learn how a library works and what to expect when they start school there. Our public library is housed within the school. It's going to be a great addition to our community. Next slide, please. So these are some of the things that we would like to offer. We want to open it up to more groups. We'll be open during the day for those groups to come in. Lots of our libraries in the area, they have access to maker spaces, stuff like that. But we also, next slide please, we want to draw in our youth with board games, book clubs, stuff like that, that currently we don't offer. And that's where the extra staff will come in. We'll be open in the evenings for those things to happen. Next slide. We do have access to a kitchen as well as sewing supplies. So these are some of the things that we would like to offer for our adult learning. We would also like to offer through our English teacher at the school resume writing classes, how to do job searches, things like that for our adult learners. Next slide. And for our seniors, we always enjoy heading out into the community with our groups to interact with them, to read with them. We'd like to set up pop-up shops for helping them book books online, and then when they come into the library, we would take our kids and deliver those books to our community members. We do not currently have a plan of service. We are working on that. And James McDonald, the executive director with the Northern Lights Library System, is supporting us with our focus group and to help us develop that plan. The focus group will help us to understand the needs and wishes of the community and help to ensure our plan of service addresses those needs. To ensure we keep relevant and continue to meet community needs, the focus group will become the Library Advisory Committee. And out of the advisory committee, our hope is that we will develop a Friends of the Library group that will be able to help us with fundraising. They would be currently, without a Friends of the Library group, we cannot go to gaming for any of our funds. We can't fundraise through them until we have a Friends of the Library group. We do actually have a request for Councillor Kriviak, if that's allowed.
Yeah, he said he would read to all the kids for like up to January, I think. Is that correct?
Just wondering where you got a picture of me there.
Maybe. We actually would like to request that Mr. Councillor Kriviak join our library board. We currently have 9 board members and we are allowed to have 10. We just feel that having a counselor on our board would ensure our public library is addressing the needs of the MD community members. And it'll be an effective way to keep the council informed, we thought. But that's totally up to him. We would like to invite all of you to our grand opening of the library, and specifically Councillor Kriviak to join our focus group on that day. We have an opening date set for December 9th. It is a Saturday. We have many people in the building on that day, so that we thought we could, with a small community, you gotta make it as easy as possible. So we are aiming for a December 9th focus group as well as our grand opening. Recently we were informed, and I believe you have a copy of our budget. We were informed by the Village of Glendon that because of a miscalculation during the census count, we did not receive the correct funding from them. The new funding from the village changes our budget, but not in a significant way. It increases the amount from them from $1,000 to $2,600. I do have a new budget done up if you guys would like a copy of that. We just wanted you to be aware of that change.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Reeve, December 9th, what time?
The focus group will be at 11:30 and our grand opening will be at 2.
Mr. Reeve, do you supply a vehicle, or what other perks do I get, or?
Well, the focus group, we are planning to feed them.
Okay, that'll be good, thank you.
All right. Any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Fidel.
Yeah, maybe just a question towards our administration. In regards to the Library Act, how does that work for funding? Does some of the funds come from the Bonneville cut, or how does that work? Or this is just a non-sanctioned library? Just a question.
Hello. Through the Reeve. So currently, the provincial government provides us with a grant, well, which is now flowing through the regional board, the Northern Lights Regional Board, and they disseminate it for us to our 2 current libraries. That value is based on the MD population. So with the addition of another library board, if council chooses to support it, the current grant we get will not increase, but we'll either have to choose to reallocate it, so thereby reducing Cold Lake and Bonneville's grant portion, and including in Glendon, or keeping the amounts the same. However, it'll come out of our source of funding won't be grant money. It'll be from our taxes, property taxes.
Right.
Yeah, because the count would go towards the Bonneville stream flow, right? Not the Cold Lake, because they're, so if you're going by, I guess, by numbers of the MD, so we're currently looking at the Glendon group as part of the MD going towards the Bonneville funding, correct?
Through the Reeve, you are correct in that about 4 or 5 years ago, how council determined the share between the two libraries was based on our service area. So there was a map of the entire MD, and it was divvied up, and everybody on this side, that population count equated to how much Cold Lake got, ratio-wise, and then those on this side, the ratio that was served by that went to Bonnyville. However, about 5 years ago or so, council does not follow the per capita ratio when it comes to determining how much funding the two libraries receive. So there is no ratio anymore.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Deputy
It's
Reed.
probably for Esther here, the question. So the population number that the Northern Lights Library System uses to collect the grant from the provincial government to distribute to us, is the Village of Glendon, like, was it previously, was the actual population from the Village of Glendon included in our census numbers? Or was there just no money for the people that lived in the Village of Glendon coming from the provincial government?
Through the Reeve, our membership rate, which is based on a per capita, is based on our population only, not the Village of Glendon.
Okay, so now that the Village of Glendon has a library, there'll actually be more per capita grant from the provincial government coming within the MD of Bonnyville because the Village of Glendon is within the MD of Bonnyville. It's not going to come to the MD, it's going to go to the Village of Glendon, to their library, right?
Through the Reeve, I believe because it's creation of a brand new, technically, the population of the Village of Glendon was not receiving an allocated provincial library grant.
Okay, but now they
So it
will.
was like a void. Now, the province will either, I'm not sure if they'll increase their overall grant budget for this new grant, new library board, or will they reduce everybody else's? I'm really not sure.
Okay, that answers my question, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Well, I'd like to thank you for coming in. You did an amazing job. Just looking for a motion from council now.
Mr. Reeve,
Yes.
do you have to nominate me to be member of that library board?
I don't think it's exist. Does it exist? Like,
Mr. Reeve, members of council, as we just had the organizational meeting, the Glendon Library Board would be needed to add by a council resolution to add to the committee and boards list, and then from there, council would appoint Councilor Kreviak to that
so
board.
we'll go through the right.
Yeah, so we'll just bring it back to,
Another
a future
council.
council meeting to add that, so it's just a process, but it won't change anything.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hogan. Any other comments? You'd like to make a motion, Mr. Kraviak? All right. Thank you, Councilor Kraviak, for making a motion on behalf of council, that council accepts the presentation by Glendon Library Board on their 2024 budget as information, and furthermore, directs administration to bring their request for funding support to a future meeting of council for consideration. Any other discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried, and thank you so much, and we'll have a 5-minute break. Welcome back. We're going now to 8.1.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Administration has received and is presenting subdivision application 2023-S-014 for council consideration, wherein the applicant is proposing to subdivide a 5-acre parcel from fragmented agricultural quarter section northeast 2662-1 west of the 4th meridian, as shown on the map attached as Appendix A. Notification of the proposed subdivision was mailed to referral agencies and adjacent landowners with a deadline of October 8th, 2023 to submit concerns to be considered at the October 24th, 2023 council meeting. No concerns have been received regarding this application. The application meets all conditions of the Municipal Government Act, subdivision and development regulations, and the Lower Athabasca Regional Plan, Municipal Development Plan, and the Land Use Bylaw. Therefore, we recommend it be approved as per conditions. Number 1, legal and physical access to proposed parcels and remnant. Number 2, cash in lieu of municipal reserve. and 3, taxes to be paid in full. At this time, administration's recommended action is that council approves subdivision application number 2023-S-014 to subdivide a 5-acre parcel from agricultural quarter section northeast 2662-1 west of the 4th Meridian for CETA Geomatics, Inc. on behalf of CCDG Developments, Inc. as per the conditions presented.
Thank you. Just looking for a motion. All right.
I'll move that we approve that.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve Crick, for making a motion on behalf of council, that council approves subdivision application number 2023 South S014 to subdivide a 5-acre parcel from agricultural quarter, section northeast 2662-1 west of the 4th Meridian for CETA Geomatics, Inc. on behalf of CCDG Development, Inc. as per conditions presented. Any discussion on this? Yes, Councillor Fadeev.
So there's a change of ownership then on this part of it?
No, it still belongs to CCDG Developments.
Okay,
CETA is the engineering company that has submitted application on behalf of CCDG Developments.
so where's the access going to be on this 5 acres?
Please go back to Appendix A, the second map. The access needs to be on the southmost part of this parcel, as there is an incline in the terrain there. Our TNU crew has gone out there to do a site inspection on it to ensure that where their proposed location is a valid location as far as sight lines and safety concerns.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, go ahead.
That white line in that, is there a road in there already, or is it already developed or something?
That's the proposed development, isn't it?
Through the Reeve, there is an area structure plan that was proposed and a subdivision application that was submitted that has now expired. They had created some of the internal subdivision roads that were never accepted or presented because they did not follow through. That is simply a road that they have created into that area. It is not a registered roadway of any nature, but it is an access point that they do have into that remnant of that quarter section.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
Lisa. Have a great day. On to 9.1, 9.11. Councillor Stipchuk.
Okay, notice of motion submitted in accordance with sorry about that. Notice of motion submitted in accordance with section 17.2 of bylaw number 1787 procedural bylaw. This notice of motion is read into the council record on October 24th, 2023. The motion as read will be debated on November 14th, 2023. Title, Range Road 460 speed limits. The speed limits exiting LaCorey to the north are too fast for both the density of residents alongside Range Road 460 and the intensity of the traffic. And whereas the heavy truck and commercial vehicles traveling along this route are not able to stop as quickly as a smaller passenger vehicle, particularly at speeds exceeding 50 kilometers an hour or greater. And whereas the implementation of slower speed zones exiting LaCorey will reduce the potential of a serious incident or accident. Now therefore be it resolved that administration be directed to implement a 2-stage speed limit zone for traffic departing and entering the hamlet of LaCorey on Range Road 460 as follows. 50 kilometer an hour for approximately 2 miles going north from Highway 55, 70 kilometers an hour for another 1 mile north, then increasing to the current posted limit of 80 kilometers per hour.
Okay, thank you. Now, we need, ready for, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so what is it now, like, 80 or 70 right out of the, like, what are these?
It's 40 up to just past liquor store there, and then you still got that subdivision that goes up to 80.
Mr.
There's no
debate,
discussion
On
here.
the read-in, the debate will
Yeah.
be in 2 weeks.
November 14th, sorry,
This year?
yeah,
Okay, good.
unless, just about gonna move in there, and you got me there. Well, Mr. Hogan's keeping me in line. 9.1.2.
Okay, notice of motion submitted in accordance with section 17.2, bylaw number 1787, procedural bylaw. This notice of motion is read into the council record on October 24th, 2023. The motion as read will be debated on November 14th, 2023. The Corey three-way stop at 49th Street and 51st Ave intersection. Whereas heavy truck and commercial vehicles regularly travel through the residential areas of LaCory as a bypass route. And whereas these heavy truck and commercial vehicles are loud and pose a potential danger to small children in the residential area. And whereas the implementation of a three-way stop at the intersection of 49th Street and 51st Avenue in the hamlet of LaCory may discourage the use of that route by heavy truck and commercial vehicles, and at a minimum will slow vehicles transiting through that residential area. Now therefore be it resolved that administration be directed to implement a three-way stop at the intersection of 49th Street and 51st Avenue in the hamlet of LaCory.
Thank you, Councillor Slipchuk, for both of those.
Yeah, Mr. Reeve?
Yes,
I just didn't know LaCory had streets and avenues.
yes, they do. Thank you, Mike. 9.2.1.
Thank you, Council. So today, we're looking at bylaw number LU 577. This bylaw proposes to amend section 57 of the land use bylaw. This bylaw will remove setback distances from oil and gas facilities, but will replace these setbacks with wording directing applicants and administration to the Alberta Energy Regulator and the Canadian Energy Regulator's requirements. So Alberta Energy Regulator has established setbacks from oil and gas facilities for oil and gas facilities within the province of Alberta. These setbacks are dependent on whether the oil contains sour gas or sweet gas, and on the density of the proposed development within its proximity. Under the Canadian Energy Regulator Act, which regulates those pipelines that cross provincial boundaries, there is a prescribed area of 30 meters from the center line of the pipeline. Any development that is to occur within this prescribed area is required to obtain the pipeline's written consent and make a locate request. So the objective of this proposed amendment is to allow for development and subdivision to occur in proximity of oil and gas facilities, as the current regulations are greater than what Alberta Energy Regulator and the Canadian Energy Regulator require at this time. So with that, it is being recommended that bylaw number LU 577 be given first reading, and it would be proposed to come back for the November 14th for a public hearing. If you guys have any questions, I would be happy to answer them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Just looking for a motion? Yes, go ahead. Or a question?
Yeah, I had a question. So the new, do we as a council or as a municipality, do you have any rights to change that though? Or because right now they're saying 100 meters and it's going to be probably well less than that. Is that up? Like, do we have any say in that at all anyway?
Yes. So Through Alberta Energy Regulator, we have to meet their setbacks. We cannot vary them. Alberta Energy Regulator can vary them. However, if we want to impose stricter or more strict setbacks, we are capable of doing that. However, we have found that it has led to situations with our current wording and our current setbacks where subdivision and development is being limited on quarter sections for simple and small development. But it is up to council if should they wish to have stricter or more strict setbacks greater than Alberta Energy Regulator
And
requires.
so, Mr. Reeve, so that
Yes.
can be kind of done as these applications come up, though? I'd just be concerned that if their regulations are, like if they're gonna say you can, right now, we're saying you have to be 100 meters, if they're saying you only have to be 30 meters or something, that may upset a lot of residents who maybe live near something, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not, I guess, concerned with, we go to first reading, but I think we need a little bit more discussion.
Yes.
So I'll make the motion for first reading.
Okay.
Mr. Reid, members of council, just for some background, this actually came because our regulations were more rigorous than the Alberta Energy Regulator. And there was at least one developer who wanted to build a house or some building on a parcel of land, and we were saying no because our current land use bylaw, the setback was significantly more than the Alberta Energy Regulator on an old abandoned well site. So we cannot be less than the Alberta Energy Regulator, but we're allowed to be more. All we're trying to do is say, listen, as opposed to us creating some distance to create an issue with people who want to build a house or build a barn or build a shed, we'll just follow the Alberta Energy Regulator guidelines in terms of their setbacks from abandoned, active, current, H2S, whatever type of well it might be. That's what we're suggesting with this bylaw amendment.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. You made the motion?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Swager, for making a motion on behalf of council that bylaw number LU 577, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville number 87 to amend bylaw number 1667, land use bylaw, be given first reading. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Carried, thank you for that. On to 9.2.2.
Good morning.
Morning.
Administration is requesting decision for second and third reading for bylaw number 1798, the government road closure bylaw, which would authorize the closure, cancellation, and sale of a portion of government road allowance approximately 176 meters in length, west of the southwest of 21 and the northwest of 1662 of 8, as per the legal description in Appendix A. The road closure is required for access to the northwest of 1662 of 8 for a proposed subsequent subdivision of the southeast of 2062 of 8 and consolidation of that subdivision and portion of road allowance into the northwest of 1662 of 8, as shown on the map on Appendix B. Bylaw number 1798 for road closure was presented to council and given first reading on April 13th of 2022, and a public hearing was held on May 25th of 2022. The required Alberta Transportation approval was then requested, with the approval received October 11th of 2023. The portion of government road allowance in question has an estimated market value of $2,000 per acre, as per the MD Property Assessment Department on May 18th of 2022. If bylaw number 1798 receives second and third reading, this amount would be payable by the applicant to the MD. The applicant would also be responsible for the costs of an Alberta land surveyor and Alberta land titles registration fees related to the subsequent subdivision and consolidation. Council has previously given conditional approval to the subdivision under 2022 S013, which does require this road closure to proceed with that subdivision. So administration is recommending that council give second reading to the bylaw, and furthermore, if passed, move on to third reading.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Reeve?
Yes.
I'll make motion for second reading.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kraviak, for making a motion on behalf of council that bylaw Number 1798 being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonneville. Number 87 to close, cancel, and sell a portion of the government road allowance approximately 176 meters in length west of Southwest 21 and Northwest 16, 62-8 west of the 4th Meridian to be given second reading. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Looking for third reading now.
I'll make a motion for third reading.
Thank you, Councillor Slipchuk, for making a motion on behalf of council for that bylaw number 1798 be given third reading. Any discussion on this, gentlemen?
There's a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Question. The part where the well site was that belong to the MD as well?
You just put up a photo, thanks. So
Like
the only portion coming out is that red portion would be subdivided and consolidated into the quarter southeast of that. The other part, that well site, would stay on that quarter section.
I know, but there's a 9 acres part, there's a well site part of the 9 acres.
Nope, the 9 acres is just that bottom part at the very bottom part on the quarter section. That part there.
Just the stuff in red?
Yeah.
I understand that, but
Well, you seem unclear. What's the, what's?
because I thought the well site, that trapezoid there, was already, was not, is not part of the EMD property. Was it?
I'm just confused by your question, sorry.
You have a, yeah, that trapezoid. Yeah, that whole, yeah, that part there.
Yeah.
Is that part of the MD?
No, that's part of the southeast of 20, so that is being subdivided out of that southeast.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah,
understand.
and then consolidated into the road allowance, yeah. No problem.
That's okay. Well, it's better to be clear. Any other discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, good job. On to 9.2.3. Welcome back.
Thank you. All right, so thank you, council. So we are now looking at the Municipal Development Plan, or MDP, for second and third reading. The MDP is the legally recognized framework for making decisions within the municipal district of Bonnyville. It compares competing needs in the community and balances the demands of development, which may have impacts on surrounding areas. It also provides direction for other municipal plans and bylaws below it, things such as the land use bylaw and area structure plan. The MDP needs to be updated regularly in order to preserve and reflect the current community values. And the MDP is a long-term planning document that sets direction for the future of the MD and is referenced often and is an important tool in guiding development through rules and regulations. In an attempt to ensure relevancy of the MDP, Administration and Urban Systems restarted the internal review in December 2022 after COVID. Public engagement sessions were held February 21st, 22nd, 23rd of 2023. A public engagement survey was conducted from December 26, 2022 to February 28th, 2023, and a public hearing was held just recently. This update has been brought about due to ever-changing realities of the MD, such as changes in growth rates, population, new emerging trends in development, and to ensure consistency with the provincial legislation or the Municipal Government Act. So from the time that this has been presented at the public hearing, there are proposed amendments to the MDP. Sorry, if we could bring up Appendix C, I believe. Or B, sorry, I apologize. Thank you. And then I can just scroll from here. So there are proposed amendments to the MDP, which you will have noted. There have been an inclusion of 5 maps. So a location map a soil productivity map, a major transportation network map, a municipal service network map, and a future land use map have all been proposed or introduced. There have also been additional text changes based on comments received during our referrals time. And, sorry, I'll make note of that. All right. So the changes begin here on page 43 with policy B.2, sorry. These changes reflect the comments made from fire regarding pressurized water supply for the fire suppression. And then on page 51, oh, I apologize. It looks like I have some of my numbers for pages incorrect here. However, on page 51, it was policy 1.D and E. Wording was changed to reflect major and minor multi-lot wording, just to ensure consistency throughout the MDP. And then policy 7.A, ensuring connection to infrastructure located within and operated by the MD, reflecting comments from the city of Cold Lake. Policy C.1E was added to reflect fragments, the fragment counts as of 1 through 5 parcels out on subdivision, but not towards the total of 20 acres. So that's just during subdivision. We have a policy that notes that the first 4 parcels out would not trigger an area structure plan, or if they reach 20 acres out, whichever came first. So it was just noting that a fragment parcel would not count towards the one of 4 parcels out. And those were the entirety of the proposed amendments. And with that, it is being recommended that bylaw 1853 be given second reading as amended and followed by third reading. If you have any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, Councillor Fideve has a question.
Hi, sorry, I went through the documents again yesterday, and on Appendix A, page 9, under urban municipalities, says these include neighboring urban municipalities of the city of Cold Lake, town of Bonnyville, and village of Glendon. Is there a reason why we're not, I guess, capturing our summer villages?
And sorry, could you repeat the question there?
Yes, the question is, in these docs, we talk about neighbors, but we do not mention the summer villages at all under urban municipalities.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe that was an intention to ignore the summer villages. It was just the framework that was brought in with urban systems there. And it is something that could be amended to be included if we needed it to.
Right, yeah, I apologize for the late
No.
catching it, but I was going through it, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, we're talking about our neighbors, but we're not talking about the summer village. So before we go into even third reading, if we could adjust that, does that make sense or not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If that's something that we wish to have that included, it is something that we can have amended.
I guess I'll ask council.
It's okay with me.
Consensus was yes.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion on second reading? I guess nobody made that motion yet.
Yeah, Mr. Reeve, if we could get a motion of that, and we could, as opposed to bringing the MDP back, just the motion to amend the second reading to amend the municipal development plan by adding the summer villages to the.
That'd be
appendix.
fine, and then we
Yeah,
could
that
go
would
to
be
third?
fine. Yeah, then you go to third, that would, and it would be the same, it would be the amended.
Okay, we'll give some time for them to write that out.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, so it would be option 3, be further amended by, and we can say, adding reference to the summer villages of Pelican Narrows and Bonnyville Beach, and given second reading.
Okay, like you said, yes. So that would be, I guess, page number 9, under urban municipalities header. Thank you.
And who would like to make that motion? You did? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. You want to take a, read that first? You're okay? All right, thank you, Councillor Fadeev, that bylaw number 1853 being a bylaw in the municipal district of Bonnyville number 87 to adopt the municipal development plan for the municipal district of Bonnyville number 87 to furthermore amend the updated page 9 of the MDP to indicate summer villages to be given second reading. Any other discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Mr. Reeve,
Yes.
if we may, before the vote is completed, I would just like to remove page 9, because on the bylaw document itself, page 9 is not the right page. So I just, if council will allow, we'll just remove page 9.
Yes, I believe we will. And just put Councillor Fadeev there too, if you want it in your minutes or whatever. Sorry? That's what I thought it was. That's the page I went to. Okay. Okay, any other discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Maybe I called for it already. That's carried, thank you. Looking for third reading? Okay, thank you, Councillor Swager, for making a motion on behalf of council that bylaw number 1853 be given third reading. Any discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. 9.2.4.
So today, council, we have an RFD for you with regards to the Glendon Agricultural Society's 2023 Community Association Operating Grant Application. The 2023 application deadline for the MD of Bonnyville Community Association Operating Grant Program which is reflected in policy number 3C.011, has recently passed. Administration has been diligently working in completing our detailed review phase of all submitted applications. However, during the 2023 municipal budget deliberations, Council directed that the Glendon Agricultural Society's grant application be brought forward for your consideration, given the sizable nature of the funding available to them, being $150,000. Since the completion of this RFD, administration has now finalized the selection of the operating grant award recipients based on the program criteria identified in the policy. This tentative list of recipients is provided in Appendix C. It was also just handed out to you earlier at the last coffee break. Although this is completed, should Council choose to award the Glendon Ag Society their full eligible operating grant, the allocated 2023 grant budget of $500,000 will be exceeded. Therefore, administration is requesting Council's confirmed approval of administration's recommended recipients and values, in addition to a decision on the award value to the Glendon Ag Society. Some historical items of note, specifically in regards to the Glendon Agricultural Society's grant. On March 7th, 2018, the Society made a presentation to the committee meeting, the Council committee meeting, requesting an increase of their operating grant funds in stages due to the repairs necessary on their arena. On April 11th, Council increased that maximum annual operating grant to the Glendon Ag Society from $20,000 received in, I'm sorry, that's a typo, in 2017 to $150,000. On February 28th, 2023, the Glendon Ag Society provided MD Council by way of delegation with information regarding how the Society has utilized their annual funding through our association operating grant for the past few years. Council accepted the presentation by the Society as information. The Society has submitted their 2023 application to the MD Community Association Operating Grant Program via email earlier this year. In fact, they were, I believe, the first ones to submit. Yes, they were. Attached for Council's information in Appendix A is a copy of Policy 3C.011, the Community Association Operating Grant Policy. Appendix B is a copy of the Glendon Agricultural Society's operating grant application. And just handed out is a list of our 2023 operating grant applicants and a financial summary of the available budgets and the payouts according to our policy, which is first come, first serve. So the order that you see there is based on the order the applications, the complete applications were received. Reference to our strategic plan is our Community Association Operating Grant Program goes to Goal 3, which is promoting community development. Financial considerations. The total operating budget for our community operating grant is $500,000. The Glendon Agricultural Society grant request is up to a maximum of $150,000. Our communication strategy is the applicant organizations, all of them will be notified in writing of Council's decision today. Administration's recommended action is for two motions. The first, that Council approves the following Community Association Operating Grant applications by the following eligible organizations to be funded from the 2023 operating budget. Those Council may choose to, there's a number of options, which you'll see down below in the Council options. Your first option that we see is a full award of the grant to the Glendon Agricultural Society of $150,000. This would equate to, based on our first come, first serve terminology in our policy, to the last 4 awarded organizations. Let me just confirm that for you, which ones would be removed from the list. So that would equate to Beaver Dam Community Society, Crane Lake Advisory and Stewardship Society, both not receiving a grant this year, as well as the Alexander Recreation Society's grant of $25,000 being reduced to $8,600. So that is if council chooses to award $150,000 grant to the Glendon Agricultural Society. Your other option, another option would be to do a partial award of the grant to Glendon. And based on the numbers that you see there, after, if you take into consideration all the applications that we're recommending approval, there is a balance of $115,900. Council may choose to award that to the Glendon Agricultural Society at a reduced rate. Another option is a full award of the grant to the Glendon Agricultural Society of $150,000, and then to award all approved applications, however, to direct administration to minimize the award values in those associations with large financial reserves. We have already taken into consideration those with financial reserves and savings. However, those that have shown where those are allocated to, or what the purpose of those reserves are, very similar to the MD of Bonnyville and our reserves. If they're allocated, then we considered those allocated and not available for operating costs. But there is some room there if council chooses to direct us to do so. And of course, the final option is to not award the grant to the Glendon Agricultural Society. So this is a lot of information. There are 28 applications, and this is the first year that we've had all 28 eligible organizations apply. I personally think that is due to actually our community services team, specifically Betty Demers, who's worked very hard and diligently to help educate all of the organizations on the reporting requirements and the application process, because it was updated by council about 1.5 years ago. So there were new things that we had required, and Betty did go above and beyond, multiple phone calls, multiple emails, trying to get everybody to be on board and to get to understand what was required. This was also the first year that applicants who received a 2022 grant had to actually tell us in a report format how they spent that money. How was it used towards their operating funds? So that was also an added requirement. Any questions?
Yes, Councillor Scarson and Councillor Fidea, if you still have that question.
So, I'm just curious how the ones that are recommended with zeros are less than, how was that figured out, I guess?
So the ones that were not recommended approval, they all missed mandatory material that were requirements of the grant application. That could be anything from their report for how their 2022 funds were received, or if they didn't submit their proof of registration with the province as nonprofit organizations. There was a list of about 5 or 6 mandatory requirements, and if those weren't submitted on time by the deadline, then they were not eligible.
And the ones that are less, like there's some that are half or a few thousand less than. So the first column is what they asked for, the second column is what you're recommending they get, is that right?
Through the REEV, the first column is the maximum that they're eligible for, yes.
Yeah, so, but not necessarily what they've asked for, is that right?
Through
So
the
example,
REEV,
Ardmore Society, it says 25,000 they're eligible for, but 11,000 is recommended.
Through the REEV, that's correct. They are eligible for that amount. They're used to getting that maximum amount. Up to this point, we've never provided less than the actual amounts when they are eligible and complete the requirements of the application.
So I'm asking, how was it determined the number if it's less than their maximum
Through the review process that our team went through, we would compare their financial statements against their expenses, as well as the information in the application, explaining what the funding was used for. And in those cases where there wasn't even, for example, I believe Sandy Rapids Community Club was one where they didn't have 25,000 worth of operating expenses last year. So they only had $20,000 worth of operating expenses last year. So in those cases, we reduce the value based on what they actually used and what they need.
All right, and then, now this doesn't really affect any, this is the money that's allocated for halls only? Like, there's another fund for like community action grants and all that, or is this all kind of out of the same pot?
Through the REAV, this is the pot for our community association operating grant only.
Okay.
So it's $500,000 just to this grant program. There is our remaining community action grant policy and our donation and sponsorship policy budgets separate to this.
Sorry, Councillor Fadea, then Councillor Kraviak.
Yeah,
then
through the REAV.
Councillor-
Thank you.
Oh,
So,
one sec. Councillor
oh,
Fadea
sorry,
first.
sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, thanks. So, getting back to the recommendation, I know it's the first time we're all doing this, so I'm just kind of trying to understand this. So, what they're eligible for toward the recommendation part, so the remaining balance for the Coal Lake, the Glennon Rec Society would be 115 if we grab the recommendations, not including what they applied for, correct?
Through the REAV, that is correct.
So, in regards to, just for clarification, why the Cherry Grove Ag Society the recommendations were 0? That's,
Through the REAV, yes. The Cherry Grove Ag Society missed submission of the mandatory report of where their 2022 operating grant funds were used. As well, they submitted, there was a number of other mandatory items missing. They did submit it, however, they submitted it after the deadline. They submitted it on September 18th instead of September 15th.
October 18th, you said?
Sorry, September?
September 18th?
18th instead of September 15th. I would also add that realizing that this policy and these awards normally are approved and administered through administration for the last number of years, this is a lot of information for sure. If council does want to see any of these applications, we actually brought them with us. So they are available if we want to dig in deeper at all.
Mr. Reeve, members of council, the issue this year, and probably going forward in future years, is council limited the budget, and we maxed out on the request. So like any other provincial grant program, we are oversubscribed. So council has the options that Ms. Kiamball gave, plus if council wants to throw more money at it. So we were given $500,000 or $500,000 in this budget line item. In the budget last year, there was almost $700,000 in requests. The department has been quite diligent in looking at the requests that came in, and although it does seem harsh that somebody missed putting in a report, it was a requirement that was in the grant application and in the policy that was not a secret. So although it seems harsh, it is what it is. We are still oversubscribed even today, even with those, and that would limit, if you approved what you see in front of you, you would limit how much the Glennon Ag Society got. The reason we brought it to you is the moment we looked at this and realized that there were going to be hard decisions that had to be made regarding community associations funding, we didn't feel that it was appropriate that was an administrative decision. In the past, when we've had as much money as we needed, or the budget was bigger and we had less applications, it was quite simple because it just became, we just essentially approved and we had budget money for it. This year, we don't have the budget money for it, and only council can increase the budget. And because these are local community groups, we felt council needed to make these decisions as opposed to administration.
Yeah, I think we're going to break for
did.
It just gives us a little more time. All right? Thank you. Welcome back after a dinner break. I think Councillor Kraviak had a question before we broke, so go ahead, Councillor Kraviak, followed by Councillor Swigert.
Through the reef, questions, yeah. So we scaled back this amount to 500,000. Was it a couple of years ago? And how much money did we have in this account before?
Through the reef, so I was able to pull our previous budgets on our community grant programs. It was only since last year where we actually differentiated between how much to one grant program and one to another. So last year, we did have 500,000 allocated specifically to the Community Association Operating Grant. The year before that, for all of our grant programs, it was 814,000 in 2021. In 2022, it was 835,000. And in 2019, it was 745,000.
And we never used all that money, ever?
Through the Reeve, I didn't check the actuals, I just checked the budget.
Okay, that's okay. So, like, I thought you said the people who apply first will be getting the funding at first, but you held Glendon's back. Was there a reason for that? Because it's only 500,000?
Through the Reeve, the reason we didn't automatically put in a number under recommended was because of council's direction during the budget deliberations last year, which was because of the size of the value, you guys wanted to make that call.
Okay, and Mr. Reeve, one more question.
Yes.
If we were to give them the entire amount, where would the money come from?
Through the Reeve, if you were to give the full 150,000, then according to the policy, the bottom number 24 and 25 would not receive their amount. And number 23, the Alexander Recreation Society would receive a reduced amount of 8,600.
Is there a possibility of, if council decides, of course, to take some money from the reserves or what?
Through the Reeve, there is that possibility. Right now, I believe we still have a balance in our Community Action Grant Reserve, as well there is cash flow reserves.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swigert.
My comment is more of a comment that if we, well, I guess there may be a question there too. Was Glendon Ag Society for 150,000 not, did they ask for it last year also? Did they not?
Through the Reeve, yes, they did.
And so, but at that time, was it part of the Community Association Operating Grant budget? I'm thinking it wasn't.
Through the Reeve, yes. The Glendon Ag Society has always been a part of our Community Association Operating Grant Program. However, I believe it was on the RFD where it states when their increased value came into play. So they used to receive $20,000 up until 2018. And in 2018, it was increased to 150.
And so was that 150 included though in the community? I guess what I'm trying to say is if we value Glendon Ag Society, we think it's a worthy charity or whatever to put money to, then I just suggest that we increase our community operating grants to take into consideration Glendon. Because I think we have enough money in there if it wasn't for Glendon, right?
Through the Reeve, without Glendon, yes, we do have an adequate budget. In the past 2 years, we have not used our entire allocated budget for this program. It
Okay,
may
so-
be longer, however, I'm not sure, I'd have to double check.
But we kind of have to assume, I mean, we can't assume that they're not going to ask for that money. So every one of these organizations we're funding, you know, I'm sure you've done this, just total them all up and then add Glendon. Does that come to 650,000 or where does that come to?
695, no?
With the one, well, if everybody received their grant, it comes to 695,000. If everyone, including Glendon, was to receive the grant that we're recommending approval, so that's everyone, a few at a minimized value, and those 6 that were not successful removed, you're looking at $534,100. So we would be short $34,100 if council chooses to move forward and use reserves as a source of funding.
Mr. Reeve, I just think we should kind of settle it though, so we're not doing this every year. Like, there should be enough in the Community Association operating grant. If we want to do this, we want to carry it forward, so they're not having to bring it back to council. I thought that was kind of the purpose of it. Then I would just think we should have enough in there to cover them. And if you consider Glendon worthy, then I would just suggest we consider that, if you want to reduce it to a certain amount or whatever. But right now, it seemed to be working for Glendon.
Was there when they were given the 150, was there a big project or an ask at that time? Or like, why did we go from 20 all the way to 150?
Through the Reeve, at that time, and Councillor Kriviak could speak to it a bit more in detail, but I remember it was due to the poor condition of their arena and their hall, and there was substantial capital improvements that were required.
Barry?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the bigger question we have to answer now, because I was under understanding that it come with an expiry date when we put that together, and that's what we talked about last time. So that, I didn't even realize that this funding was even on the table for this year for Glendon, so I mean.
Yeah, I talked, sorry to jump in there, but I talked to the mayor at the last function there, and he said, without you guys, we could have never did the improvements to, the whole works there.
Yeah.
So if we're not doing no more improvements right now, I'm not sure why we're still at this amount, right?
Mr. Reeve?
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm sure administration has their application from February 13th, so maybe you could just sort of let us know what they're requesting.
They're probably requesting $150,000.
No, but for what though? Are they doing a major repair again, or are they, I mean, if they need $150,000 to operate, then that's a different story, I guess, but.
Through the Reeve, if we want to look at Appendix B, council can see their ask and what it is that they've put forward in their application. They are on page 264 of 365. They're stating that their current operating shortfalls and why the funding is required. Those are the items they're listing as being what they will use the money for.
Mr. Reeve, members of council, I would also suggest that the pot of money that the MD is taking in revenue-wise is shrinking. It's up to council if council would like to keep historical numbers for community grants and just keep handing the money out as per the historical precedent. But that's going to impact the operating budget in other ways. So for every dollar that we give out is a dollar that can't be used to fix a road, put in a water line, to fix a campground. These are not, they don't come from different streams of funding. They come from the same stream of funding, which is tax dollars. And the discussion last year at budget was to reduce the community grants to start shrinking the size of some of these community grants. That was the reason the council gave for it coming down from $750,000 to $500,000. And if we're just going to increase back the historical precedent, then we'll have to readjust our budgets in other areas to compensate for that. So,
but if we were coming down like from 25, we could have went to like 20 or something, couldn't we? Did right that across?
Absolutely, council could do anything they would like with these operating grants. You could increase them, decrease them, keep them the same. We are just looking at the pot of money that council applied to this, which was $500,000. We're oversubscribed by almost $200,000, and just trying to apply some justification through the application process, things that weren't applied for properly, late applications, et cetera, to try to reduce those numbers a little bit. But if we are just going to go the other way and just add money back to it, then we'll adjust this year's budget or the 2024 budget to recognize that for next year, and that will obviously have an impact on other areas in the operating budget. So our revenues are shrinking and our expenses are increasing, and council will be forced to make some difficult decisions.
Through the Reeve, I will also add that we have had a number of inquiries as to how an organization can get on this list. So there are additional organizations that are looking to apply. At this point, there is no criteria identified in the policy. They've been directed that if that's something they would like to do, it would be a request that would come directly to council.
Is there a timeline on this right now? Do we need to get this done for today, obviously?
Through the Reeve, there are a number of the organizations which are
Waiting?
This was the first year where although the deadline was in place last year, the September 15th deadline, we weren't as
Friendly.
we gave a little bit of leeway when it came to when we processed them. However, this time with the tieback, because Glendon submitted first, and the need for all of the information to be brought forward so you guys can make a full decision with everybody's requests, we waited right until now after the deadline was passed.
That being said, Mr. Reeve, council is granting money, it's a grant. And if council decides that they would like to take an extra couple of weeks to the next council meeting and wanted to table this, that is entirely up to council as well. It is council's money, the people's money, the council is funding these organizations with, and if you decided that you wanted a couple of weeks to think about it to the next council meeting, that would also be perfectly acceptable.
Mr. Reeve. Mr. Reeve?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hearing all this conversation here today, how about I make a motion to fund them, let's say 100,000 instead of 150?
Mr. Reeve?
You want a discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, just discussion. I mean, yeah, nice thought, Mike. I'm not sure though, maybe rather than kind of guessing at how much they need, we almost need to dig deeper though and say, you know, what do you really need? Maybe it's 60,000 or maybe it's 50 or whatever it is, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's 150,000, but again, it's a tough one, right? Because it's in the village of Glendon.
Well, I know when
we're using it, but
when we started this, like everyone had like zero funding, like they are just broke, and nobody wanted to volunteer for these halls and stuff. So we made a motion right there, Donnie Sinclair, years ago, and it was to get them. But I'm sure if you went line by line, some of these organizations here got to have. They're just not living on $25,000 a year anymore. I don't think.
No,
I think they
can't.
have money in the bank. So I don't know. We might have to change the whole thing around. Yeah.
Mr. Reeve, we used to give in 2007 prior $1,500 per
Yes.
hall, and then we increased that to
7?
15,000, but we gave a one-time donation of $10,000 to every hall. That's Councilor Sinclair's motion.
Yeah.
And then we raised it to 15,000, and then we raised it a few years later to 35,000, and then we cut back to 25. So more or less, that's the history of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Councilor.
So I mean, it says right in the name, like it's the Community Association operating grants, and I mean, even 100,000 is still way more than what they're claiming to be using for operating. You know, we did give these guys some money to do some of the repairs, and it's my understanding they were done those repairs even last year, right? Because they were doing some of the stuff in the roof in the rink, and then the ice plant, and then they did the flooring in the hall.
Yeah.
Which is all done. In the change rooms. So, you know, even when it looks at what you're using it for, well, again, expenses here for operating, it says $80,000 a year, and I mean, that's what this is used for, is operating, right? So.
Yeah. I think it's a tough place for us to just decide like this, right? I think we should have a little bit of time. to do this.
Okay, so I won't make that
Yeah,
motion
you have a
then.
motion.
I won't make that motion.
What's that?
You guys want more time, I'll withdraw that motion for
Well,
now.
I don't know if everybody wants to.
Well, what is more time gonna give us? I mean, it's here every year, it's the same thing every year, right? So,
I'm just suggesting, like, it's a tough thing to do this, right? And, like,
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you're right, Counselor Scarson. Maybe we did need a bit more time, though, because you're right, we're paying for other things other than operational, right? I mean, they're, even their expenses and stuff and all the work they're doing. So I'm not sure if we should be on the hook for all that stuff. So, I mean, if we had somebody break this down for us right now and say they need 65,000 for operational, and they're only covering 40,000 of it, you know, and then we can actually give them 25 to make the difference or whatever, but I'm not picking that out of this.
I might add too, I mean, when you look right here, it talks about balance at the beginning, at the end of 2022 was 400,000 in their bank account, so, you know.
A lot of cash. Go ahead, Counselor Slipchuk, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, they're asking, you said, for operating costs, but we don't pay full operating costs with the other halls. Like, we just don't, we're contributing to their operating costs, isn't that correct? But we're not paying full operating costs.
Through the REEV. In some of the situations, our grant is covering all of their operating costs. Some of them don't even have, which is why you'll see reduced numbers. They didn't actually have $25,000 worth of utility and yard maintenance and stuff. So that's why it was reduced. So in some cases we are. However, one of the things that is in the criteria, which council added just the last time we updated this, was the need for these associations to be sustainable and to not rely on our grant for their sustainability. Unfortunately, that's really difficult of a concept for a lot of these community halls to get on board with, because I would say half of them do rely on us on this funding, and I'd say the other half don't. But that's just from going through all of the paperwork.
Yeah. I know when we started, there were some halls that were like desperately ready to shut down, so, you know, we had to do something, and I don't think it's the case anymore. It's almost a line-by-line thing here.
Mr. Reeve, maybe we should just table this, like you were saying? You want more time? Or what?
It's up to council here.
I'll withdraw my motion and whatever council decides.
What do you guys want to do?
Well, I think we just have to find a solution that fits in the budget that we allowed, right? So, and then, so the ones with zeros, especially the last three at the end, so they're just not eligible, or they just didn't qualify in time, or?
Paperwork, not,
Through the REEV, the last one, they didn't meet the submission deadline. The second last one, they missed submitting mandatory information. And when they did submit it, it was past the deadline. And the last one, they missed submitting material, yes. Majority of them missed submitting mandatory material. A couple of them missed the deadlines entirely.
yes.
More thing, so 115,900, that's how much is left if Glendon gets nothing?
That is correct.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess there is a solution. We use the 115.9 and make sure that groups that actually had applied don't get kicked off the list. Because there's ones there that you mentioned made all the criteria, but you're thinking of reducing it if we gave Glendon money?
Through the REEV, if we did give them the full amount, then once you hit Alexander,
They're all zeros.
there's only $8,600 left. So instead of receiving the full recommended 25,000, they would receive 8,600.
Okay, so I'm going to ask it again, I guess. So how much is left for Glendon if the rest of them actually get what they were eligible for?
You mean recommended or eligible?
Eligible for.
Eligible? Well, nothing.
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 Over
We're
budget by
over budget.
195,000.
Well, okay, but no, sorry, there's
mean-
115,900 left right now.
I know, but that's after recommendation, right?
Yes.
Yes. You're short too.
And Mr. Reeve, members of the council, from an administrative perspective, our question would be that we have a policy that has very clear application guidelines. If we're going to give the money out with groups that have missed whatever those specifics in the application are, then I would suggest that the policy should go back to council, and it would just be simple of somebody to write a letter to council asking for money, because there were application criteria, and if they missed the deadline, they missed this, they missed that. Unfortunately, it sounds harsh, but it is, if we miss an application deadline to the province to apply for a grant,
You're done.
It's done, it's over. Those are hard limits. And if we're not going to apply our own policy to the grant program, then I think I would suggest that we bring the policy back to council for discussion as to what you want that policy to look like, and maybe it's as simple as a written request and a delegation come from each of them to explain what they want, and then council could make that decision from there.
Mr. Reeve, I think the policy's fine, and so let me rephrase my comment. If we paid out all the recommended, is there any money left, other than Glendon?
115.
115.
Okay, so there's 115,000 to give to Glendon, if we choose to.
I would just ask though that with Glendon's, Glendon's application was in order and it fell into your criteria, like you cut a few of these back because you felt that they didn't need all they were eligible for, so is Glendon, they meet $150,000 worth of eligibility?
Through the Reeve, I would need some time to confirm that. I didn't do that final step, as I was relying on you guys to make that call.
Well, I just don't, I get, I mean, I'm fine with, let's say, giving them the 115, but as long as it fell into the proper, right? I'm not just gonna hand them over money to say, here's money that you say you need, right? You know, there's other groups in here, like Crane Lake, for example, 5,000, but they only got 2,700, so, you know, obviously you felt that there wasn't a need for them to have the whole 5,000, or whoever felt. Is that the same as with Glendon, right?
Through the
So-
Reeve, I will add that on page 295 of our agenda package, they do state that they used, the expenses that they used against that, the 2022 monies equated to their utility costs, their contracts and honorariums, their arena repairs and maintenance on their financial statement totaling $185,000.
So, Mr.
Yes, go
Next
ahead.
week- Yeah, it seems to me there's really two questions here. The one question is, if we give all the ones that have been recommended, the amounts that have been set out in the middle column there, that's kind of what the staff's gone through the application forms and decided that they qualify for what they're recommending, which I'm in favor of that. Then the other one is there's 115,900 left over that could go towards Glendon, but we're not sure what their operating cost is. And this is an operating grant, so it may not require the full $115,900 going towards Glendon. Am I correct in that?
Through the Reeve, that is correct. If we look at how we reviewed other submissions, what we did is we looked at how they spent the money in the previous year. If they had operating expenses for that amount, was number one. And in this case, they're saying, yes, we do, and it's in their audited financial statement. We didn't go as far as, okay, so how much revenue did you generate? And why did you use our revenue to cover those costs instead of your own generated revenue? We didn't go into the detail of where their sources of fundings were. At the end of the day, we were looking at, do they have operating costs totaling whatever our grant amount was? And what is their financial reserve to see if it's allocated or not allocated. In this case, looking at their financial statement or statement of operations, They're stating that their facility operations is actually running a deficit of 86,000.
Yeah, Mr. Reeve, members of the council, Ms. Kimbo is absolutely right, and I think one of the issues with the way the current grant system is set up is we are comparing the Glendon Agricultural Society, who actually runs the arena. So it's not a cheap thing to run an
Yeah.
arena, to the Crane Lake Ag Society, or the Crane Lake Advisory and Stewardship Society, which doesn't have a building.
Yeah.
So we've got a fairly large, and of course, the numbers are different, 5,000 to 150,000. But the one thing about Glendon does do that nobody else on this list does is they manage a full arena that I think a lot of our residents use in the area, potentially even outside of the area if they can get ice time. Their numbers themselves say that the operating expense in 2022 was 185,000. So we're not meeting their operating, that's fine. 150 was the ask. But their operating costs were 185, and even at that, they're still coming in at a deficiency of $87,000. They're short $87,000 on their financial statement in terms of their expenses over revenue. So the list does go through a wide, broad spectrum of different types of facilities, from an arena through a group that doesn't have anything. So.
Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I certainly wasn't comparing Crane Lake to the Glendon.
No,
Ag
nobody
Society,
was,
So, but I mean, I'm just gonna make this easy because you're right, and the operating says here 194,000. If I remember correctly, when we first passed this through, it was to help with some capital expenses, right?
Yes.
And even if I remember right, I think they were getting the 25,000 plus the 150. So that kind of evolved into now 150 for operating for the entire time. But if this is the list that they presented, and there's 115.9 left in the budget, I'll just make a motion that the Glendon Ag Society gets 115.9, and the program is done for the year.
159?
115,900.
Okay, I thought balance.
Um,
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Reeve. Susan was able to clarify for me that shortage, that deficiency was actually only on their facility operations. If you look at their entire Ag Society Statement of Revenue and Expenditures, which is actually on page 272, they did have an overall excess of revenue of 92,000. So they had a shortfall on their facility operations financial statement, but as an organization as a whole, they show an excess of revenue of 92,000 for the year.
Yeah, but the operating expenses are still 194,000 according to them, right?
That's correct. The
Okay,
statements
well,
of facility operations in that on page 272, which incorporates that, I think that's like the first expenditure listed at 194, their total operations costs.
And all these other ones were warned many times that you got a date, blah, blah, blah.
200%. Honestly, compared to previously, Betty did a bang-up job. She was actually upset when they didn't submit their proper presentation or
So obviously we
materials.
did our due diligence to get.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, Darcy, you want to make a motion then?
Another one?
The same one? Okay. All right, thank you, Councillor Scarson, for making a motion on behalf of council that council approves the Community Association Operating Grant application by the following eligible organizations to be funded from the 2023 operating budget as stated. Any other discussion on this, gentlemen? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. Carried. Thank you. We definitely need to look at this for the future, though, like the little better something.
Sure. If,
All right.
through the Reeve, we were hoping to bring it back. We administratively noticed a few improvements that could be made to the policy, so
Good.
we were hoping to bring it back to council.
That'd be great, because we're looking forward to seeing them. All right.
I'll just add another
Yes.
point, and I mean, this is something that was brought up, when this first started with the 150,000, was that Glendon did offer the arena, which we didn't, we are short of in the municipalities, so we found it a cheap and easy way as opposed to building a brand-new rink or adding on or anything like that. So that's kind of some of the other discussion that took place at the time, right? So,
Yeah, I remember a little bit of, like, even in, since I've been here, we talked a bit about that as well, because a lot of the Glendon, I think the Glendon kids amalgamated with the Maleg this
Maleg.
year, and a lot of the, a lot of teams from Bonneville and surrounding, like, a big area, are playing there, so.
yeah, they do utilize it quite often from Bonneville, so, I mean,
Even in the parade, the main team from where, what are they called there, what's that team?
Lakeland Panthers?
Flyer, no, Lakeland Panthers, is it Panthers, or was there a different name? Anyway,
Glendon.
there's like 2-3 little teams, they even had a float in the Glendon parade, so that's how much they use that arena there, so, okay.
Just one more little comment.
go ahead.
Yeah, all these names are for halls mainly, and like the CEO said, Glendon also operates an arena, which is a big thing. You look at Bonneville operating in the C2, they're always going in deficit as well. So an arena plus a hall, not just a hall in Glendon. So thank you for your support, Council.
Okay, thank you, yes, go ahead.
Through the sorry, could we get one, because we'd like a second motion as well, so for one for the approvals and then the one for the denials,
Okay,
which is on the RFDs that you have in front of you.
who would like to make that one? Can I make a motion? I'll make a motion to deny.
well, I'll make a motion that any that did not meet the criteria are denied.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Scarson? Thank you, Counselor Scarson, for making a motion on behalf of council that council denies the 2023 Community Association operating grants applications from the following organizations based on a non-inherent with association policy number 3C011 terms and requirements for the list below. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Kimball.
Thank you.
Kimball. Do you? Sorry, I'm not very good at it yet. I got the cue down.
That's a tough one.
Where are we at? Nine
This is
point,
Q, yeah.
9.3.1?
9.2.5?
9.2.5, yes. Sorry about that.
No worries. So our next item is the Planning and Community Services Department 2023 third quarterly report. With me today is our branch heads, ready to present to you some more information. So with that, I will ask Lisa Folliott, our Manager of Planning and Development, forward first.
Nothing but good news. Here she comes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, I'm going to start with this third quarter progress report for planning and development.
Okay.
So for development permits in the third quarter, we had 73 issued, with the average time to issue at 1.5 days for the permitted use and 21 days for discretionary use permits. As illustrated in the pie chart below, development permits were issued across all wards in the MD. For building permits, we had 41 buildings permits issued in this quarter with a total construction value of $6.35 million. It is quite high because we did have one permit for a fire hall renovation come in at $2.15 million. So average time to issue in days for the building permits is 15, and the majority of permits, as you can see, 33 out of the 41 of them were for residential buildings. Housing starts have started to slow down a bit in the third quarter. We had 2 single-family dwellings and 1 mobile home permit issued in this quarter. Subdivisions, we had 4 new applications received with the average of 50 days to approval for those, and we did have 1 application withdrawn as after review of the proposed subdivision, it did not meet all the requirements of the land use bylaw. For safety code permits, we had 65 electrical permits, 18 plumbing, 58 gas, 23 septic, and we processed 283 inspection reports. So the average time to issue for electrical, plumbing, and gas permits, they're usually issued same day or the next day, and for septic permits was within 1 day within this quarter. Some other updates, Realtor reports, we had 38 completed with a turnaround time of 1 to 2 days. Address signs, the rural address signs, 110 signs ordered with 132 picked up, and the average turnaround from the time we ordered them for pickup is about 2.5 weeks. Non-compliance, we had 3 new non-compliances this quarter, and we actually had 3 resolved as well. Satisfaction surveys, 33 surveys were sent out. We received 5 responses. All responses received were satisfied to very satisfied. Some project updates, the municipal development plan, public hearing for the MDP was held September 26th with second and third reading just completed today. So now it is now passed after we do the couple amendments. The direct control districts, public hearing for 2 new land use bylaw districts, the airport and the industrial DCs, was held on September 12th, 2023. Administration is working on amendments to the airport direct control prior to proceeding to second and third readings for that. Our municipal lands and reserve bylaw, as part of the education process, informational signs were installed at municipal and environmental reserves locations around Crane Lake. We will be continuing the installation of informational signs at other lakes and subdivisions across the municipality. And area structure plans, ongoing research is being completed for 5 upcoming area structure plans. There is the Moose Lake ASP, Highway 55, Chicken Hill Lake, Crane Lake, and Highway 2841. These area structure plans are part of the 3-year contract that we have with Urban Systems for reviewing and updating our existing plans. So that completes the third quarter reporting, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Perfect, thank you.
Sorry. I was just scrolling through to find I was going to ask. 33 new residential building permits, I guess?
Correct,
taken
yes.
out? And do you know what that was a year ago, like, as a comparison for the third quarter?
I didn't compare. I will be comparing at the end of the fourth quarter with last year,
Okay.
but we are about on track for what we were doing last year. We're a little bit higher for permits.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure, Reeve and Council, to present a third quarter progress report for economic development. You are not getting off scot-free. Okay. All right. Okay. So, you'll see in front of you a updated reporting process. What I've tried to do here is tie it back as closely as possible to documents that administration and the public recognize, and that's the business and industry growth strategy. In the third quarter, we had no reports for lead generation. Unfortunately, that hopefully will change in the near future. Action items from the business and industry growth strategy, we have successfully relaunched the business registry program. The community investment profile is approximately 40% complete. The business visitation program is ongoing. The value proposition has been completed. The investment attraction strategy is approximately 25% complete. The commercial and industrial property listings is 25% complete, and I'll make a note there that there's a possibility that that would be adjusted if we are successful in our ACP grant that we did in conjunction with the Northeast Alberta Information Hub. So we're just waiting on that. The business business attraction, retention, and expansion programming is approximately 20% done, and that's something that will more than likely be reviewed on a regular basis. From an economic diversification perspective, regional economic development collaboration initiatives are ongoing, and we spoke to the couple of already one grant from the ACP. One was for the industrial and commercial listings through the hub, and the second grant, which would have been a regional initiative as well, is the food system or the greenhouse grant or application that we put together with the County of St. Paul. From Investment Alberta and Investment Canada perspective, we have nothing to report as far as lead generation, but one of the things that I will state is that both of those organizations have showed interest in our SiteLink event for 2024 and want to participate or sponsor in some way, shape, or form. From a brand development perspective, we continue to create materials for our community profiles and other marketing opportunities. We have started work on the Ambassador or Champion program. That's approximately 33% complete, and that'll be in conjunction with Portage College and with Lakeland Travel or Tourism. And from a branding perspective, we have started development on our new economic development website, which is part of overall branding for the MD. Opportunities supporting business growth are identified under projects further down. Conferences and seminars, carbon capture convention in Edmonton was approximately a month ago, was well attended, and there was great progress between business, industry, and government and the finance sector specifically, so there was lots of great things happened out of that. As well, I took in the Taking Protein Forward, which was a Protein Industry Canada conference at the same time, and it presented some great opportunities for value-added agriculture as well. Projects include, again, the applications for the regional, the grants, the economic development website, and again, the SiteLink Conference 2024. We have started in earnest on our planning, and we're nailing down the location of the activities and working on our site selection after tour and looking at stakeholders as well. From a stakeholders meetings perspective, I don't think you want me to go through all of them, but it was fairly active. I did want to mention one thing, that we had client support that had come to us earlier in the year, and through ongoing conversations with different support agencies. We do have a client that's working with East Central Alberta Innovation Network out of Lloydminster, and hopefully we'll be able to support them as they move through that journey. And otherwise, something to maybe make note of is that we have been asked to participate in two different sections of the Economy, Labor and Trades Initiative, and also the food economy through other support agencies. I would entertain any questions at this point in time.
Yes, Councillor Fadave. Councillor Fadave.
Could you give me a little more insight to what Taking Protein Forward means, Protein Industry Canada?
Sure. So it's basically the food, that's just the best way to say this, is the protein ecosystem, right from the production of particularly pulse crops through to the semi-finished and finished processing of that particular product. For example, the keynote speaker this year was Yves Potvin, who was responsible for developing Yves Gourmet Hot Dogs, Jardin, and a new program that he's currently launching this month. And so he talked about the struggles of developing a product, finding consistent quality of a product, and marketing a product. So it was very interesting, and it was for the folks that were in the audience, who are, for the most part, those that are directly involved in the production and the finishing of it. It talked about sort of the toils and troubles of mostly finding and keeping the financing and doing the marketing to obviously make it the success that it was. And so through his journey, particularly in this situation, he has started 3 or 4 labels and is now working on not only another particularly interesting one, which is vegan seafood, but he's also runs a program much like the Michelin program for cooking, a cooking school in Vancouver. But anyway, the importance there was that it was about value-added agriculture and what it takes to be successful, not only in the Canadian market, but to take market share in the United States and overseas as well.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Swigert.
Yeah, you had mentioned, I think it was under economic diversification, Invest Alberta, but you'd mentioned St. Paul and greenhousing, a joint initiative. Can you give a bit more info on that one?
Sure. So what's the main focus of that is to identify some sites that are currently not being utilized and some resources, some off-gassing that's happening through Strathcona Resources in 2 locations, obviously one in RMD and one in the County of St. Paul. And so in conjunction with Strathcona Resources, we would identify if there's a feasibility to create a food ecosystem that would support, first off, a local economy and then look at growing it further. So, I mean, the bottom line is taking unused stock and turning it into something that could be considered, I guess, a cost benefit in that there'd be a reduction in the cost of that energy that it takes to produce that product. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but that's the Cole's notes on that.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Slipchuk.
Got a comment. I know we got budget deliberations coming up here soon, so I think we should all just remember that we should look into ways to drop our business tax in our area. So I think it would be a big help to economic development, if I'm correct, to draw other industry and help if we lower the tax rate for business.
That's
Is that fair to say?
Well, okay, so I have to be careful when I answer that question. It's a lot more complicated than just saying to drop taxes. There are, and it's in the growth strategy, that we have to identify levers that would be attractive for either bringing new businesses here or keeping ones that we're thinking of migrating out. And so there's a balanced approach. It's not just the lower taxation. Sometimes it's a support that comes through, our approach to labor and our approach to training and other types of incentives. It's not always about bottom line tax. One of the things that I will say is we have to be very careful. There's a number of studies that say that you can sort of take the elevator to the basement with taxes and then have nobody show up, and the ones that do show up, you look at the ROI and you say, well, how do you justify the fact that these people have lower taxes and the people that have been in business for 20 years don't have that? So it's not as simple as just saying lower taxes moving forward, right? You have to understand who your competition is, what your actual goals are, and how you judge or how you benchmark what you're trying to accomplish as far as what you call success, right? So I know it sounds like I'm trying not to answer the question, but I really am. It is complex. Having competitive taxes is important, but it's not the only answer to business attraction. But thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the day. Next. Hello.
Good afternoon, Councillor.
Good afternoon.
I am presenting asset management third quarter report from July to September. Asset register and data collection is ongoing work. We are working lots and collecting from record drawings, reports, field visits, and staff input. And all departments are providing support. For water line inventory, we completed 60%, sewer line system 60%, campground asset register 70%, landfill and transfer site 30%. And also I prepared the asset list for asset retirement obligation. We also created documents as recommended in asset management implementation strategies. So working on asset management policy. We presented the state of infrastructure building facility report. Todd Honkala presented the state of infrastructure bridge report 2 times. And we finalized terms of reference for asset management working group and steering committee. For staff training and engagement, we have subscription with the Saskatchewan Asset Management Online Portal. About 67 members took the training, and still new staff and some who is not taken can take up to February 2024. Interdepartment team training we did. It was funded by RMA and FCM. 5 staff members took, one from finance, 1 from park, 1 from facility, and 2 staff from asset management. And drafted level of service called Cold Lake, campground, and water line system. Asset management internal governance meeting. Asset management working group includes all managers. They approve term of reference. And till today we have 2 monthly meetings. Asset management steering committee includes general managers and the directors. They approve terms of reference, what we drafted. And 1 meeting was held in 3rd quarter to approve the term of reference for the working group. In GIS projects, ongoing projects include sketches, maps, and GIS data preparations. Following maps were created: legislative and information services, population data with 221 federal census data boundaries, 50% completed, road inventory data reconciliation in GIS system, 40% completed, waste services interactive maps, 25% completed. MDA Bonneville ownership map, we are trying to make in our own, it's 15% completed. And completed projects which also included maps and digital form for infrastructure services, bridge structure approaching end of life maps for Todd Honkala. For CO office, marketing and communications, open forum days 223 map. Planning and community services, we did La Kori rezoning map, that's for area structure plan. Seasonal access authorization map. For parks, recreation and cultural, French Bay expansion report maps. Kinusu Ridge Resort survey map of Saskatchewan land portion. Asset management, completed 223 Alberta Municipal Data Sharing Partnership requirements. So they need data from municipality and they provide to the emergency services, RCM, PA, TELUS, utilities company, so they can use from that. And digital form was created for building condition assessment. So they can use digitally, not taking the paper when they're in the field. And for environmental and protective services, our GIS coordinator participated in a round table for a mock disaster scenario. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Comments?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So you said lots here, and it sounds like you're doing a lot. I'm just wondering about kind of deliverables for the public versus deliverables for MD staff, and like road inventory data reconciliation in GIS, and then MD ownership maps. So like the ownership maps, I know they go out to the
Yeah,
public.
yeah.
So are we building those in-house now? Is that what we're trying
Yeah,
to do?
we're trying, yeah, I started thinking, yeah.
Okay, then like the road inventory, is that something that public will actually have an access to, or is that, I don't know if they want to, but there's lots of projects going on here, and you're talking about lots of things we're doing. And I just wonder, what information is kind of going to be out there that we could
Yeah,
access?
we have basic information, so now we are making it intelligent data, so it will have all the requirement information, like when it was built, how wide, how long, when it was due for replacement, which material, suppose road is a gravel or dirt or pavement, and for water, it's a PVC or cast iron, when it was installed, any issue, all those we are populating. So it's like we have basic line work or other, but we are making toward the asset management. So we will be plan like which is due for replacement or upgrade. That's we are doing for all the assets. So suppose we did for buildings, which presented in the council that we have 50 buildings and which are in condition like that. Same thing, Todd produced the bridge report, which also shows different stages, conditions when due for replacement. Same thing, all the asset categories. We are collecting all the information in more detail. So we will know which one is to be retired or replaced or repaired.
Okay, lots of good data. Maybe we can see some of it in the future.
Yes, so we presented 2 reports, and maybe next time we will present water or sanitary or maybe landfill status report. Then we will know what we have.
Okay, how do you say good afternoon in your native tongue?
Good?
Good?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I like his native tongue, it's easier. It's shorter.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
See you. Right on.
Good afternoon, Reeve and Council.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm here to present our Community Giving Third Quarter Report. Starting off with our Community Action Grant. As you'll see, we changed the quarter report to show the actual intake periods so that it's an easier understanding of how many applications we actually take in and award during those intake periods. Starting off, we had about $14,000 in projects awarded to 3 applicants. All the final deadlines for applications for the Community Action Grant were finished on October 15th. So the remainder of the third intake period will be presented next quarter. And next page, please. As we move through, we had a really great success. One of our major capital project level awardants actually completed their project this year. So the Grand Center Golf and Country Club received $66,195 under the major capital project stream, and they completed their new storage facility. And here's our little Facebook blurb with the shout out to the MD. Next page, please. Going into our donations and sponsorship, we had a large number of intakes for Q3 with about 40 requests coming in. Some of those numbers do show duplicates where a ask came in for a donation and a in-kind or in-kind or promotional item. With $17,800 being awarded for Q3 for the actual monetary donations and $6,201.54 for promotional and in-kind values. As we move forward, going to council giving, council received 1 request in Q3, and you guys approved 1 request for $1,000. As you'll see that there is an in-kind approved fee for $89.25. That was the actual replacement fee for one of the lost MD flags. Going forward, year to date, without Q4, we are looking at $145,440 in total council giving for this to date. And finishing off the report is our community operating grant, as you guys have already reviewed today. All 28 out of 28 eligible applicants have submitted, and the application closed on September 15th. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Perfect.
How do you say, no.
Au revoir.
Well done.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
Right, I'll be presenting the third quarter report for Parks, Recreation, and Culture. I'll start off with the trail counter stats here. Basically, the third quarter counter stats appear to be a little bit lower than the second quarter. In most locations, however, not a major difference from the second quarter. I believe there was a question that came up from a previous council meeting where somebody had asked if trail counters pick up animals. The answer to that is yes. There's no way to really avoid that, so they will pick that up. It's just not going to be a huge number on that. On to the next slide on campground bookings. This is showing total nights booked for the entire camping season, comparing numbers from 2022 to 2023. With the exception of Cold Lake, most of our campgrounds didn't see much change in bookings from last year to this year. The Cold Lake MD Park, however, did see a good increase in overall bookings, mainly due to all campsites were available for reservations from the start of the camping season, where last year only part of the new expansion opened July 1st. Campground revenue, all campground revenue presented here is for the full camping season, comparing this year's revenue to 2022. This season, overall campground revenue did see a reasonable increase, which mostly can be contributed to the Cold Lake Park being fully open for the whole season. Firewood sales, we did see a small increase there from last season, which again will be due to more sales coming from our Cold Lake MD Park, with extra sites being open from opening day. And lastly, the revenue collected from our campgrounds that offer showers and laundry in 3 different parks. We did see an overall increase this year from last year as well. So 2023 total revenue collected was $695,360, where last year, 2022, was $635,648. Rate your stay results. This is the first camping season where we asked our guests to complete a survey and rate their stay with us, their overall experience in our parks. In total, we received 281 surveys, which can be done either online or filled out manually. So paper copies were made available at each of the campgrounds for our guests if they preferred this method other than online. Out of those 281 surveys, we received 159 exceptional ratings, 113 were good, and 9 poor. And then at the bottom, just showing how we individually broke down how many surveys were filled out at each campground. On our project updates, the projects that are 100% completed in the third quarter are Angling Lake Boat Launch and the Intermunicipal Trails Master Plan. We're still working on completing the picnic shelter for the Lakori Rec Park, kind of the last piece of the puzzle there for that development, which for the overall project, we're at 95% completion. Just waiting for permit approval on that structure, and our park staff will be getting a start on that building right away. Administration is currently working on campground operations management structure review, which we're 60% completed with that project. The Cold Lake MD Park boat launch project is still sitting at 20% completed. Still waiting on the FNC approval through the province. Once we are through that stage, then we can proceed with environmental approvals and tender review with Tetra Tech. And finishing up the third quarter for our standard parks operation, we continued on with grass cutting, playground, campground, and baseball diamond maintenance. On to the Visitor Information Center. On July 6th, we hosted our grand opening for the VIC, where we counted approximately 350 people in attendance for the barbecue and handing out free ice cream. In our third quarter, we've seen 881 total visitors come through the Shaw House. Our staff kept track of when visitors most commonly came through the facility, seeing the average guest coming through on weekdays between 1 and 3 p.m. And on weekends, our busier times were like between 10 and 12 and then 3 to 5 in the afternoon. Where are our guests coming from? So 68% of our visitors were from outside the MD, 28% of our guests were from the local area, and there was a small percentage, 3%, from outside the country. Our trading post, our third quarter report does show the trading post revenue higher than the second quarter, just totaling $2,751. And then on to concession. Last section of my report here highlights the total Shaw House concession sales for the season. The concession was only open for the third quarter, and during that quarter, we served a total of 580 ice cream cones, 156 beverages, 53 snacks. Total revenue for the season was $2,822. And we ended up wrapping up the season with a concession on September 17th. That's it for my report. Any questions?
Well, thank you for that report. Any questions, gentlemen? Yes, Councillor Scarson, then Councillor Swaggart.
Just on the surveys, so what, you guys were also, like, you had some feedback on the pours and the goods, and is that, like, are they able to, or just hit a button and say good or bad, or how does that all look?
Yeah, through the REIT Council, yes, there is a spot on the surveys that our guests can answer or write a bit of a comment on what it is that their experience was good or bad. So we did keep track of that as well, if there were some trends that were happening within the campground. So we obviously take that feedback serious and where we can make improvements, so.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Swaggart?
Yeah, I have a question about Muriel Lake, and beautiful spot, but how do we boost up nights booked at Muriel Lake? And I'm going to ask another question. So that's the question, but also when you're showing nights booked, it'd be nice if you showed, those are the number of nights booked out of what, though? What's the available nights, right? If they booked, you know, we sold 1,000 nights out of 10,000 nights, or, you know what I'm saying? It'd be nice to know that. But so that's kind of a question there about Muriel Lake. What are you thinking about going forward with Muriel too? I think we talked about sort of renting it out longer time periods. Is that something we're working on?
Through the REIT to council, at this time, I mean, there are definitely discussions what we can do differently and what we can do to make that park more enticing to our guests. We don't have a solution yet at this point, but certainly discussions going around that. I mean, that's about all I can, I guess, comment on that at this time. We don't have a solution yet, but certainly can bring back some more information on nights in comparison to nights available, but I don't have that in front of me at this time.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I just, well, because we've talked about Muriel Lake before and having it booked seasonally, so people could book it. So has that gone anywhere, that discussion, or is somebody actually working on?
Through the REIT, yeah, same thing. I mean, we are discussing with administration. I mean, we're having that discussion about what we can do to enhance the park.
Yeah, and
there are some costs involved with.
It's also the end of the season, and
That's
you guys
right.
will be discussing all the parks for in the winter season
That's
to
exactly
make them all better for the upcoming season. So, yeah, Councillor, is that good, Councillor? Yeah, Councillor Scarson.
Yeah, well, first, I'd actually do like Dana's comment about, because I mean, 10,000 nights booked at Cold Lake, but there might have been 200,000 nights available or whatever, right? So it would definitely be good to see even a percentage of occupancy, right? You know, were we full throughout the year or whatever, right? So, but so these trail counters, so do you have permanent spots on all of them, on all the trails now, or is that, how is that? Or you just switch something around, or?
Through the REIT Council, we have them set in certain locations. They don't move because we keep track. We do have a map that shows different locations where they're situated. We are looking to maybe add a few more and a few more locations, but no, we keep them in the same spot at all times. So
Yeah, so I knew we were putting some on the newer ones, but so now all the trails that we built in the last few years have some sort of marker on them that is doing counting, I guess.
Through the REIT, yes, that's correct. Yeah, we do keep track of all of those, including Ardmore, Muriel Lake, and the natural trails out there too. So we're tracking that traffic as well. So.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you for your report.
Okay, thank you.
Good job. Good. I think we're only allowed one at the podium. No. Hey, guys, welcome.
Good afternoon, Reeve and Council. So today we're looking at the 2023 third quarter report for Canuso Ridge. And you'll see the first slide, just a year-to-date as of September overview of what was going on. So you'll see a 33% revenue increase, which is great, as having a full season this year at the resort. But then you also see a 9% increase in expenses. So with the increased revenue came increased expenses. If we look at the pie chart, so we can see kind of the breakdown of the summer of 2023, just to clarify a few of the bullet points within that pie. The events, we took things such as car show, yoga, trivia, sort of wine and dine nights was in that chunk. Summer camps was the first year, extremely successful, with over $25,000 of revenue over there. And guest services included such things as gift cards, merchandise, credits for the lodge. Target Golf was also another low-cost item that was added to the features for summer activities at the resort. So you'll see that there. Once we go over to the aerial park, you will see there was a decrease of 200 participants there. But the one positive that we did see was the 537 school admissions that came through. That's definitely an area that we're going to concentrate working with the schools, see if there's some curriculum that could add that aerial piece to their outdoor adventure. See if we can build on those numbers. Another thing that we've looked at doing for next year is possibly trading features within that aerial park with whether it be private business that offers the same aerial park or municipality, just to change up those features so it entices people to come back through again. So that just gives great opportunities there. When we go over to the food and beverage slide, you'll see we were open 26% more, which equated to 25 days over the summer. From operational hours, you'll see sort of the 11 to 8 Thursday, Saturday, and then 10 to 8 Sunday through holidays. Once we get to the actual numbers with revenue and expenses with the kitchen, you will see a 51% increase in revenue, which equated to $51,000. But once again, on the flip side, you'll see that expense rate of 52% increase, which equated to $153,000. So when you look at the pie chart there, you see a 76-24% break in 22, and then a 74-26 in 23. Obviously, what we'd like to do is get that pie turned around. And we have to look at things like operational hours. We need to look at menu, the type of foods that we're doing as we move forward to make sure that we're actually hitting the market of people that are coming through and wanting to be in the facility year-round through the summer, in the winter, and adjusting to what the ratepayers require. When we look at marketing, you'll see Facebook, Instagram, you'll see Canuso Ridge, and then The Ridge, and just what kind of hits and what kind of traction we saw, people coming, looking at our sites. This is where we get a lot of our precious data from, and then sort of how it broke down to areas of where that data came from. We also did the local radio ads. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram were huge. Newspaper, billboard ads, the website revamp that we're currently working on, posters, brochures, adventure guide, and then both community registration nights in Bonnyville and Cold Lake, we did have staff go out to those. When we look at sort of that third quarter event, special events are key to try to bringing people back into the resort. We really want to focus as we move forward here on such things as weddings, functions, bigger functions, buyouts of the upstairs where people order food, have their drinks, and enjoy the adventure. We're looking also at the wellness aspect of it from recreation programming, so continuing offering programs of that nature there. There was a climb and dine, various different pairing nights, wine pairing. I've talked to a couple of the brewery owners, and they're interested in doing events and those type of things that could draw people out to the resort. So just really trying to get the traffic flow going there so that we can get some traction here as we move forward. When we look at the project planning and design, as we said, this year was the first year of having all 4 seasons fully open with enhanced summer camps, with the Target Golf. So just continuing along those lines, and as we had McElhaney in, kind of going through the mountain biking area, and as we can add phases of development into that park, and then obviously having the accommodations on site, which is key to success of, you know, whether it be a restaurant or any other element of the resort. So we have completed the planning design stage with McElhaney for the mountain biking trails, and then with assumptions regarding budget, an approved budget for phase 2 for the construction of the mountain bike park based on the plans that will be brought forward to council once complete through our contractor, and then looking at the other things such as yurts or whatever accommodations we can kind of hybrid on site there to help visitors stay, play, eat, drink. So thank you very much. If there's any questions, I am here.
Nice picture. Yes, Councillor Slipchin.
I know last year I got calls there about families asking about a separate area for a heated area for if they come with their kids, they just bring a lunch, because sometimes some families just can't, don't have the money, extra money to buy the food, but they still want to utilize Ski Hill. Are we looking at putting an area up for families like this, that are people that bring their own lunch and come to enjoy the Ski Hill?
Yeah, through your worship, to a member of council. I mean, there is a downstairs area where people can definitely enjoy their lunch that they do bring through. So we don't want to exclude any ratepayer from using the hill at all. And just as a quick side note, to date, we have about 540 ski passes sold. Last year we were at 586, I believe it was. So we're kind of tracking well that way. And last night we had our snow guns on, so people are getting excited to see some snow on the hills, and hopefully this cold weather can hold in and we can be open as early as possible this year.
Yeah, Councillor Swaggart.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about the mountain bike park, but did that sort of depend on us getting land in Saskatchewan so that we can open those trails, or is it all, yeah, what's happening with the trails?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Mr. Even Council,
Hi.
I can speak to that a bit. So with this current plans for the mountain biking, they've stuck within our current lease boundaries. We didn't want them designing on lands that we don't have agreements with or hold at this point. So they've stuck with that, and should we add those lands into the Kinnasoo kind of area, then we could look at expanding into those at that time. But right now, they've just focused on the lands we hold. So.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Just curious about the swing that's there. So you want to just talk about the swing?
Yeah. Through the reef to council. So the swing, we did get engineering back on a fix. However, it's at the end of the season now that they did get it. So they'll be working on trying to get that in place and testing it, and then Duracell will come out next year, and hopefully they'll approve that fix so it can be up and going.
Okay, Counselor Slipchuk, then Counselor Fadеев.
When do you expect the hydrotherapy area to be completed by? No.
Next.
Yeah, so do we or can we capture current clients that are coming to the Hill? And for location-wise versus your actual clients on your marketing, I guess, blitz, how does that work?
Yeah, through the Reeve to council. We can definitely pull some more analytics as we keep going here. We do know through postal addresses that about currently 50% for ski season Cold Lake, 25% empty and 25% other, just based on kind of registration. But we'll definitely see from Google and that, as I've done it before, we can pull different analyticals that come off that and then present that to council.
Right, I know it's pretty hard to do that when we're going to all seasons, right? How do you track, where people are coming from? But just kind of need to know this way you can actually do some blitzing. I'm looking at the numbers for top locations reached, and it's Bonnyville is pretty soft. Lloydminster is really soft. St. Paul as well, right? And that's just only just a short distance away. So, just my own thinking. That's also okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day. Yep. All right, we probably need one big motion for all that, correct? Just looking for a motion for all the third quarter. All right, thank you. All right. Thank you, Councillor Sipchik, for making a motion on behalf of council that council accepts the Planning and Community Services 2023 third quarterly report as information. And good job, everybody. Any discussion on this? Nope. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to 9.3.1.
Good afternoon, Mr. Reeve, members of council. I am here with an RFD for the Summer Village of Pelican Narrows road paving assistance request. Administration received a letter from the Summer Village of Pelican Narrows mayor and council requesting funding assistance for the paving of a road located in and owned by the Summer Village. Attached as Appendix A is a letter sent from the Summer Village mayor and council. As the road identified in the letter from the Summer Village is not part of the MD infrastructure network, funding a road project in another municipality is open to council discussion. Administration is looking for direction on this request. There's no funding allocated for this project and will be brought forward at the 24 budget deliberation if council chooses to participate in the request for funding. And administration's recommended action is at council discretion, and there are a number of options below for council.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Scarson.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you can kind of brief us a bit on the road maintenance service agreement that we have for that road.
Okay, through the Reeve to Councillor Scarson and to all of council, I don't have the agreement in front of me, but we have an agreement with the Summer Village to do snow plowing, and we charge them on a per hour basis for that work. We also have an agreement, in that agreement, for summer maintenance for pothole repair. We do some of that on the road leading into there as well. So
do we treat that snow removal as like one of our I don't know how you prioritize, like it's priority one or whatever, like, or do you kind of stop at that intersection, or how do you do that?
Through the Reeve to all of council, we prioritize that as we would of any contract being like a flag or anything like that. We make sure that we get our roads done first. Our ratepayers are first on our priority list. Then we go back and do that after. So.
But if our guy was right there, he would do that road to our MD corner, correct?
Again, yes, to our corner. Again, we try to get all
On
of
their
our
road
stuff.
to our corner.
Yeah, we get our stuff done first, then we'll go in and do some. Now, if it makes sense for him to go in that little bit, do a pass really quickly, I guess that would be up to the discretion of the operator to see if it's more feasible to get it done at that time, knowing, you know, that it'll only take 2 minutes or whatever the case may be to get that done. He might just zip in there. Maybe it's just a little bit of sand to add if it's a slippery road, and then he'll get it done then too. So.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems, I just hope that, I mean, we have MD residents that live on the road. I mean, you obviously know that, right? And it cuts over to another one of our MD roads, and I guess I just don't understand when it would make sense to not just plow that with the rest and come back later on. I mean, that to me would be way more unfeasible coming back, because I don't imagine there's a lot of flags that are sold in that area either, right? So.
Through the Reeve, no, probably not. And again, it's typically on a case-by-case basis. When the operator's out there, they'll make the call, okay, yeah, it's not going to take me that long. It's not going to impact the MD residents that much. Again, we are doing this custom work because it is not an MD road.
Yeah, I know, but you just said it yourself, how does it impact MD residents? Well, we have a resident that lives right on that road, right?
Fair enough, but, yeah.
I guess, I'm not trying to grill you, but I know when we did this agreement, I guess I was under the understanding that we were going to treat it as one of our roads, because we do have MD people living on that road. And it's used quite a bit by MD people because it cuts to that other section. So when people don't have to cut through the four-way stop, I don't know all the roads over there, but, you know, I would say that I know it's used by Pelican Narrows lots, but, it's also used by our residents quite often, and we got one guy who lives right on that road too, and
fair.
It just doesn't seem to make any sense when we have to come back later, or a couple days later, and plow it when we were there already, right? So anyways, it's something to keep in mind, I suppose, so.
Yes, Councillor Scarson.
Or whatever your name is, Swigert.
Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry, I don't really know the road very well, or how long that road is. It would be nice to look at a map. Are we talking like a
It'd be a
quarter
half mile,
or-
I guess, right?
There, give or take.
Yeah. No.
No. It's going into Pelican Narrows, going
So
west.
when you get to that intersection, you turn right to Birch Grove, you turn left to Model Development, or you go straight. And then it's that quarter section road that's there, and we have a resident who lives right on that road. And then it loops around to the other side.
It horseshoes along Moose Lake. A lot of residents live on either side, up against the lake or in the horseshoe. And this one residence, he's in the horseshoe, but his access is from that Pelican. Like, he's up against all the other houses are in the horseshoe, but he's on
He's on
this
their
side. He's
side.
got a great big, he's probably got
Well, he owns, I
15,
think,
15, 20 acres there,
at
huh?
least that, yeah.
So he's a little unique, yeah.
Mr. Reeve, members of council, a couple things. The road is not our road.
Yep.
It's very similar to the issue we had a while ago with the road on the east side of Bonneville. At Emerald Estates? Yeah, at Emerald Estates. It's the same type of issue. We have residents who live there, but the road is controlled and maintained by the town of Bonneville. In this case, the road is under the control of the summer village of Pelican Narrows, and we just happen to have a contract to look after that road. And I'm not sure exactly how the contract reads, but.
I have it here.
Okay, we do have a copy of the contract here now, but it is their road. You know, the real question in the letter was requesting financial support to redo the road, and not just about the maintenance of the road. So we're kind of looking for some direction, because we have not put anything in a capital budget to spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 on a road in the summer village.
Yeah.
Nor have we put any money in the budget to spend any money on a road in the town of Bonneville or in the city of Cold Lake.
Yeah, but I mean, we got here, there's a letter from the resident sitting on my desk, so we're gonna talk about it right now, right? They go hand in hand, right? So, I mean, if we don't wanna talk about it, don't put a letter on our desk talking about it, right? So, anyways, I guess at the beginning, I was under the impression that we were, we had asked to plow this road because it was a problem for us.
But this letter's for a little different thing, isn't
No,
it?
the first thing it talks about is.
Is it
right
about
here,
snow?
Point number 1.
Okay, never read it yet, sorry.
Through the reeve to Councilor Scarson, this agenda item was for to pave, a request for assistance to pave a road. I know which letter you're talking about. That's from a resident for other issues
Yeah, that's what I
outside of
thought,
what
too.
the agenda item was. The agenda item was for the.
This is for the paving,
was
this
for the
is for a
paving,
different
the
thing.
request
than
for
letter.
paving, no.
I'm completely aware.
Okay,
But I
sorry.
get here and this is sitting on my desk.
That's
so-
just, it's for information, yes. Not
To
for
do with the
this.
same road.
It is the same road, you bet.
Okay. So there is really no question except to bring this back to council or to the budget then, right?
Well, for the agenda item, that's what the RFD is for, is, yes, administration is looking for direction of which way council wants to go with the paving of the request for assistance for paving of this road. That's what the agenda item is, that's the direction we're looking for. Further to your comment, we can review the agreement that we have with Pelican Narrows and adjust our plowing schedules as we see necessary. And with the service agreement that we have here, it says that we're going to, the MD will, during the winter season, the MD shall provide or cause to provide the following services: snow and ice control with a motor grader or a snow wing attachment to the front plow. The service levels shall include but not limited to: the road shall remain open at all times. Plowing shall commence if snow accumulation exceeds 10 centimeters, and both driving lanes shall be clear within 48 hours of a snow event. That's the terms and conditions that we have with Horseshoe Bay. Or, sorry, I apologize, Pelican Narrows.
Yes, go ahead.
So then, it just says in here, they have some capital in their road reserve. So do you know how much, or did they tell you?
Through the reeve, I wasn't made aware unless the
So
CAO was.
Through the reeve, to Councillor Scarson, so the numbers have changed since my original conversation with the mayor. At one point, this was an over $1 million project, and I see now that it's been reduced to a little over $500,000. My understanding at that point was, earlier, is that we were going to be looking at picking up the vast majority of the cost of the $1 million project. Now it's, now the number has dropped down to 500,000. And what I will say as well is the mayor's original numbers were kind of an estimate. They weren't an engineered, and I believe this number is a much more closely engineered number. Not sure, I don't know, and I don't want to guess as to what percentage, but it would probably be the bulk of it.
And it doesn't really talk about, is it a complete tear out and rebuild, or is it a rip and relay, or what is the?
But for
Through the reeve, it doesn't really say, it just says they want to repave it. We have no more information than what is on the letter and
So I guess, with your best educated guess, 550,000 for that chunk of road, what would that get you?
Well, through the reeve to all of council, we tendered out a complete grade base and pave at just north of $2.5 million a mile. If this is half a mile, if it's a full grade base and pave that they need done, you're looking at north of $1 million for that. So
It's currently like just that cheap pavement kind of thing right now? What is it?
cold mix.
Or is it cold mix? Yeah.
So like, they're asking for pavement, whether they want to go with cold mix or something, I have no idea, just going by
pretty
what they're
vague.
talking about, they say pave. So. But again, it's not our road, so that's why we're looking for direction.
Councillor Slipchik, you have something?
Yeah, I know, I got some areas in our Ward 4, and you know as well, where they've got lots of heavy truck traffic now due to the heavy oil activity that could use the money for maybe cold mix and dust control. And that's our roads that come full of all 100%.
Yeah, you don't have to look at me. I didn't bring this request forward, and I'm really could care less if the road gets paid. I'm more concerned about the snow plowing that goes on it, so. I'm just curious as to the request and how much they've got to contribute and all that, so.
So going through my emails from a while ago with the mayor, the original project that we were quoted was Township 611 west from 465, the Birch Grove corner to Pelican Drive, and then North Pelican Drive to Township 611A. In total is 2.175 kilometers, and in 2022 we were quoted 1.3968 by Knelson. So
Sorry, say it
1.3.
again, from that corner to the.
They wanted to go from the Birch Grove corner to the Pelican Drive corner.
That's over 2 kilometers?
2.175 kilometers. This is from Mayor Hornseth, and they were quoted call it 1.4 million at that time. In a previous email or in a subsequent email, the mayor indicates to me that they had about 500,000 to put towards the project. I'll just pull up that email.
So we only have to chip in $52,000 then?
So on March the 12th of this year, Mayor Hornseth said, what did he say here? That they had approximately 500, I said, you had indicated to us you had approximately 500,000 to put towards the project, and you're requesting the MD to fund the remainder. I want to ensure I relay the request accurate. That was an email I sent to him. He said, yeah, roughly be a bit more after MSI this spring. So they'll have more than 500,000 after MSI this spring. So if the current request is for 552,000, so I think probably if through budget deliberations, council determines you'd like to go down, no pun intended, that road, we can certainly reach out to the mayor and have a conversation. Potentially even it might be a good idea for Reeve Kalinsky to reach out to Mayor Hornseth and say, what exactly what are we looking for? Because the ask is to be part of it. It doesn't give a specific 50%, 25%. Maybe Reeve Kalinsky would be willing to reach out to Mayor Hornseth. Because it looks like the project has changed since 1.4 million to 550,000.
Yeah, I would say that, I don't mind talking about a budget, but I'd have to know how much they're able to contribute. And I'm just looking at it on the map, and I mean, I wouldn't pay for anything further than the corner that you turn off onto our subdivision there, right?
Yes.
So maybe that's 60% or 70% of it or whatever, right?
Yeah, it is a little ways to the corner there for sure, yeah. I don't have a map in front of me, but I'm sure we're probably, like you said, 60% of that road to our resident. I know a lot of our residents from years previous, they say they use that.
Oh, sure they do.
Because it's a lot easier to go.
I just want to bring up, if we're talking about using other roads like that, we've got a road on the east side of town here too it's Lover's Lane. It's a town road, but we don't do anything. It's a rough shape all the time. They have oiled it this year and kept the dust down, which I appreciate. But we don't fix that one up because it's a town road.
Well, in that case, might as well add on to the list of the airport road in Coal Lake, right? That there's 2 miles that our residents use all the time, and it's nothing done, so.
Okay.
So Coal Lake will pay for part of the paving on that?
I'll reach out. Well, can we table this for now, or?
Well, if they're telling us they have $500,000 to it and it's only whatever to do, I mean, I think we need to listen to it, right?
Okay, let's listen to it.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I would suggest that it just be received for information at this point.
Yes.
If you were to reach out to the mayor, and the mayor.
Because it ain't happening this year anyway.
And then we would come back with some information. My last conversation with Mayor Hornseth was just to send a request directly to council. He did. The request is a little short on information, but I think the information is relatively easily filled out.
Okay, I'll reach out. Well, do we need a motion for just information?
Sorry, and then also, like, is
Okay,
it
go
part
ahead.
of the ICF at all that we do with them? I don't know, is that a thing, or?
I don't know, do we do ICF with?
We do,
Yeah.
and it certainly could be part of that.
Point.
I just still think we just need to get the details on what the project entails and what they're looking for, and I'm not sure when our ICFs with the summer villages are even due. I'd have to look that up.
Okay.
Excuse me, I
Yes.
was just told by Stephanie that that agreement that we have for maintenance on that road is part of the ICF. It's attached to the ICF with Pelican Narrows.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to accept this as information, correct? Yep. Okay, looking for that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Slipchik, for making a motion on behalf of council that council accepts the request by the Summer Village of Pelican Arrows to partially fund the road paving project as information. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council invitations.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. Members of council, so the only one today is an invitation from Reynolds, Mirth, Richards, and Farmer LLP, the annual municipal law seminar. This year it's on February 9th. Actually, next year it's on February 9th. And it's the 39th Annual Central Municipal Law Seminar. Runs from 8 o'clock till 4 p.m. at the Delta Hotel Edmonton South Conference Center. Sessions of this year's event will include topics such as municipal liability, use and occupation of municipal roads, construction, code of conduct bylaws, and more. A block of rooms has also been reserved for seminar attendees and are available prior to January 9th, 2024. Registration fees for this seminar are $1.97 per person. Costs for this attending this event, the recommended source of funding would be each member of council's respective 2023 conference registration budget, and that the administrative recommendation is that council approves attendance to the Reynolds, Mirth, Richards, and Farmer LLP Municipal Law Seminar to be held February 9th, 2024 in Edmonton at a cost of $197.10 per person to be funded from each member of council's respective, is that 2024 council budget? So it's from the respective 2024 conference registration budget.
We're just typing up a motion. You're good?
We anticipate the.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay.
My only question is to administration, if there's still money in the 2023 council allocation for conferences, then it could come out of the 2023 budget line.
It certainly could, and I'd have Susan speak to it. The issue we often run into is an event to take place in 2024 really should be tagged to a 2023 or to that year's operating budget. We don't carry forward operating funds. We carry forward capital funds, but operating funds basically die on the 31st of December. There are some follow-ups for things that took place, but an item that's billed out in 2024 should come from the 2024 budget as opposed to the 2023 budget. Otherwise, these are not that huge of an issue, but otherwise it messes up with year end.
Yeah,
and
I was just thinking we got the information now, and I think they can register, we can be signed up ahead before the year end, so then it can come out of this year's budget. It can be spent this year, right?
Yeah. Yes, but the billing won't take place. You can be signed up, but the billing won't take place until I'm closer to the conference.
That's why we have experts like you for administration.
So-
Thanks.
Yeah, experts like Susan.
Thanks, Deputy Reeve, for that comment. Okay, moved by Deputy Reeve Crick that council approves attending to the Reynolds, Mirth, Richards, and Farmer LLP Municipal Law Seminar to be held on February 9th, 2024 in Edmonton at the cost, at the cost of $197.10 per person to be funded from each member's council's respective 2024 conference registration budget. Any discussion on this? Yes, Councillor Scarson.
So what are you gonna do? You're gonna register everyone that's, all the councillors? Is that what you're saying?
Whichever counselor indicates they would like to go.
Yeah. So are you asking that right now, or like when do you plan
Nope.
on registering?
No, it's just approval now, and it could be
I did
decided
say
as you see fit.
Yeah, we can send it.
They'll fix all those. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. On to 9.5.1.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
So, what you see before you, you're going to give me the clicker.
Mr. Reed? would it
Yes.
be Possible for a 5-minute break? I see some counselors are.
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, they're just.
Sorry, Susan.
That's okay.
Okay, welcome back. Hi, Susan.
Hi,
Go ahead.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So this report is related to the financial sustainability framework that council identified in their strategic plan under goal number 1, building a viable and diversified regional economy. It specifically requests the creation of a municipal financial sustainability plan. So this, what you'll see today is the framework of what a plan would include. So this is an information item, and the request from administration is that council approves the proposed framework in principle and directs administration to move forward with the initiative as presented. So I'm going to present the initiative. Thank you. Do I have control of the button? Thank you.
No.
Now, just a second here. You've messed up my screen because now it's not full.
Yes.
Click on enable editing.
Just double click this. Oh.
If you go to those, on your left hand, there's those boxes. One down. Yep.
Yeah, but I want to hide this piece. No. That's
Thanks,
fine.
Mike.
I like being in control. Pardon.
Absolutely. He's just fooling around.
Thank you. The primary outcomes of a financial sustainability framework is our financial capability, it acts as a reference guide, it identifies future strategy areas, and it contains long-term financial sustainability process. So the framework is simply a document that outlines long-term financial strategies to be followed, as well as financial sustainability principles and considerations to be referenced in financial decision-making. It is a tool to keep organizations on track to meet their strategic goals and objectives. The primary outcomes of implementing and following a financial sustainability framework is first and foremost improved financial capability. This means that it helps to ensure that the organization is capable of the long-term ability to deliver the level and types of services expected by the community and as well as to meet these financial commitments at an acceptable level of taxation. A financial sustainability framework provides a reference guide to council and the organization now and into the future for all financial decision-making. This ensures a consistent, focused approach to financial decision-making, thereby leading to a stable and focused approach to service delivery. It contributes to identifying future strategic areas where future work may be required to refine current financial strategies and/or to create new financial strategies. It outlines a long-term financial sustainability process that will be repeated on a 4-year cyclical basis to complement the strategic plan. The process will create a long-term financial forecast to illustrate future financial challenges and facilitate a long-range perspective for decision makers. That is, it will help with budgeting. It has these three fundamental principles: sustainability, flexibility, and it minimizes vulnerability. So the fundamental principles of sound financial management are these 3 items. These are the most significant indicators of a municipality's financial condition and ongoing financial health. As previously mentioned, sustainability is a long-term ability to deliver the level and types of services expected by the community, as well as to meet these financial commitments at acceptable levels of taxation. So that's the key to what we're trying to achieve with this framework. Flexibility refers to the ability to financially pivot when unanticipated events occur. Municipalities must be able to adapt quickly to significant change. Minimizing vulnerabilities is all about financial planning into the future to anticipate what future requirements will be and making sure we're prepared to deal with those future requirements. This is a very simple financial sustainability model, and it has 5 key components. And we'll work through each one of these component parts individually in more detail. So the first component is long-term strategic and financial planning. This includes both the strategic direction from council as well as the strategic recommendations from administration to achieve council's vision. That is, it includes council's strategic plan and departmental business plans, respectively. Long-term financial planning is about incorporating these strategies into a long-term budget document for council approval. Currently, the MD is producing a 3-year operating budget and a 5-year capital plan, as per the minimum requirements in the Municipal Government Act. For budgeting to be most effective, a longer view must be taken. At a minimum, a 5-year operating budget and a 10-year capital plan is recommended to help determine what the future needs will be. This will assist decision makers to take earlier action on issues that will be impacting services and ultimately financial sustainability. Financial reporting will become more important in what is being presented to council and how it can be of use in the decision-making process. Financial reporting will become more about where we are going to end up as opposed to just the results at the end of the quarter. In order to do this effectively, new financial software will be required that allows for a greater level of detail to be captured and include analytical tools that assist in projecting results. The next component part is tax strategy. The tax strategy includes a number of components and is about how we utilize our tax dollars for their highest and best purpose. How do we manage those dollars to maximize effectiveness and efficiency while maintaining a reasonable tax burden on our community and providing the services that they need and want. This strategy outlines how we spend. This means, wherever possible, applying for and utilizing grant dollars. Contingency funding for uncertain outcomes. Utilizing various taxation tools that are available, such as special levies for services allowed by the MGA, such as the environmental services and fire services. It includes local improvement levies to provide services that benefit only a certain segment of the population, such as water lines, sewer lines, roads, and those types of things. Investment management means maximizing financial resources to realize the best return on our investment dollars. Interest earned reduces the overall tax burden on the community. User fees are utilized to recover costs from those who are directly benefiting from the service. These costs are not wholly borne by the community at large. The next component is debt management. And debt management is all about the conversation between pay-as-you-go and taking debt in order to fund your major capital projects. The debt management strategy identifies how and when debt is utilized to fund major capital projects. Debt is a costly undertaking, especially right now. Our cost of acquiring debt is in the 6% range at the moment. So on $5 million, that's $300,000 or thereabouts. Dependent on the interest rates at the time and the use of debt can significantly increase the cost of our tax base and therefore must be used prudently. However, debt utilized strategically can greatly improve service provision to the community. So debt versus pay-as-you-go both have a role to play in sound financial sustainability. A combination of the two is the most effective method to refurbish, replace, and build new infrastructure. Reserve management is the next component, and it's essential to the development of a capital funding strategy. Reserve management provides direction on which reserves are established and how reserves are utilized. A concerted effort must be made to ensure that grant dollars are available to the MD, thereby reducing the cost of our major capital projects. Effective reserve management increases the likelihood of grant availability. Our new LGFF is going to be dependent on whether or not the MD can contribute a portion of the capital cost to a project, and we need to be able to demonstrate that in order to access those grant funds. So effective reserve management increases the likelihood that we'll actually receive grants and improves our investment income by being able to invest those funds and earn interest on the money while it's sitting waiting for those grant dollars to come in. And this in and of itself can reduce the tax burden and help us fund our required capital projects. Proper reserve management improves financial sustainability, allowing municipalities to be flexible and minimizes vulnerability during unanticipated events and uncertain times. And finally, we have the asset management component. Pardon me. So asset management is an important tool in a holistic financial sustainability framework. This is a record of all physical infrastructure assets, including condition assessments, asset valuations, and projected replacement costs. It is a key component of effective life cycle planning. Asset management directly impacts the capital plan by determining what asset requires attention first. Thank you. Finally, asset management provides an evidence-based data to ensure that financial decision-making is timely, accurate, and relevant to the needs of the community. And that's something that is going to become more and more important as we move forward with limited resources. We want to be very sure that we're funding the capital projects that really do need to be funded at that time. There is quite a lengthy list of benefits to implementing a financial sustainability program. There's long-term planning relieves uncertainty. It provides guidance for all financial decision-making. It identifies financial sustainability principles that are applicable to the considerations and impacts of financial decision-making. It outlines significant financial planning areas and associated financial strategies, and it identifies future strategy areas. It also establishes a long-term financial sustainability process to complement and achieve the strategic plan. It ensures emergent issues are accommodated to safeguard future generations from financial vulnerability, and it provides flexibility to adapt to changing circumstances. It ensures sustainable programs are at acceptable levels of taxation. Each component part is dependent on the other components of the framework. So one fits with the other and feeds another component. So in order to have an effective financial sustainability plan, all of those component parts need to be present and fully developed. So the implementation of this framework. So what I've shown you is just like the skeleton of what a financial sustainability program would contain. And with council's approval today, administration will move forward with the development of each one of these component parts. And so council will receive throughout the course of 2024 policies and strategies and management plans for each one of these component parts, and you'll approve them as we go along. This is a significant body of work in order to pull all of these things together. And so the estimated time to have the whole framework, the entire framework put together would be by the fall of 2024, anticipating the 2025 operating budget and capital plan. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I just need to cough first. Pardon me.
Yes, Councillor Swiger.
Thanks for that. Lots of work to do. I'm just curious about asset management though, because I thought that was more of a long-term thing, that they won't be done by 2024.
That's true. They won't have that component complete, but we can still utilize the segments that they do have
For sure.
finished. So in its entirety, it may not be done by the end of 2024, but already you have seen condition reports on both bridges and buildings. And so we can get started with those two items relatively quickly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to make a motion, if that's all right.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, number one, that we approve the framework in principle and direct administration to move forward with it. And I did read it over on the lunch break, and then she also explained it very thoroughly, so thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve Crick, for making a motion on behalf of council. That council approves the proposed financial sustainability framework in principle and directs administration to move forward with initiatives as presented. Any discussion on this motion?
I got a question before he.
Yeah.
Motion. The 10 to 20-year forecast, like, that's for the financial planning and strategically?
Strategically, that would through the REEV, that would be for the capital plan. So we can now create a farther look at our capital requirements for things like bridges and buildings, because we've already seen those assessments completed, and some projections are in place for those already. We just don't have that for all of our infrastructure yet. But that's kind of the goal, is that we'll be moving towards a longer-term view of what our needs are going to be, and that will give council an opportunity to be much more strategic in their decision-making when it comes to what should we fund this year, what should we fund next year.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
That's carried. Thank you. On to 9.6.1, Stepping Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve, members of council. If I could ask the
Absolutely.
chair's
I forgot,
indulgence, if we could, there was an error made this morning regarding the passage of the municipal development plan. So we would kindly request that the councillor who made the motion for second reading rescind that motion, so we can then provide a new second reading motion to correct that error. The error that was made was a conversation regarding the why the summer villages were not included in the appendix. In an actual fact, there are no towns or villages included in the appendix on the proposed municipal development plan. That was actually from the old municipal development plan.
Okay, very good. Councillor Fadeev?
So what we'll need is a motion to reconsider from the
Yep.
person who made the original second reading motion, and then a motion to amend the second reading, and then council can pass the second reading. We will not need to go to third reading. Third reading has already been passed. This is to amend second reading. No public hearing is required because we're actually taking the MDP back to where it started from when it came
Today.
originally today.
Right.
I'd like to make the motion to reconsider bylaw number 1853, municipal development plan bylaws, second reading, please.
Okay, thank you, Councillor, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Fadeev, for making that motion. Everybody can read it up there. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. Need another motion? Would like to make this motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Slipchik, for making a motion on behalf of council. That council amends the motion for bylaw 1853, municipal development plan bylaw, second reading, by deleting be further amended amended by updating the MDP to include reference to neighboring summer villages and. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. On to 9.6.1, Stepping Stones now, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve, members of council. The government of Alberta has deemed November as Family Violence Prevention Month. This declaration is especially significant to the Stepping Stones Crisis Society as an emergency shelter for women and children fleeing domestic and intimate partner violence. The Stepping Stone Crisis Society has submitted a proclamation request to the MD of Bonnyville to declare November 2023 as Family Violence Prevention Month within the municipality. The goal is that this increased awareness will help highlight the issues of domestic violence in our communities. Council approved similar requests from the Stepping Stones Crisis Society and proceeded to proclaim November as Family Violence Prevention Month in previous years. Administrative recommend action is that council approves the proclamation of November 2023 as Family Violence Prevention Month within the municipal district of Bonnyville, and the proclamation is therefore the Reeves.
You want to read it? You have it? I don't. Is it? Sorry. Okay, proclamation, Family Violence Prevention Month, November 2023. Whereas Alberta has the third highest rate of self-reported intimate partner violence among Canadian provinces, and whereas approximately every 2 days a woman in Canada is killed by her intimate partner, and whereas the community benefits in creating awareness and resources of family violence, and whereas violence against women and children represent one of the most significant societal issues that endanger Canadians' health and well-being, and whereas the effect of family violence may be carried from generation to generation, and whereas there are many people in the municipal district of Bonnyville who experience family violence, and whereas the estimated total economic cost of spousal violence in Canada is estimated at $7.4 billion, and whereas all community members in the municipal district of Bonnyville have a role to play in preventing family violence. Now, therefore, I, Barry Kolinsky, Reeve of the MD of Bonnyville, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2023 to be Family Violence Prevention Month in the municipal district of Bonnyville. I call upon citizens to speak out against family violence, and I call upon you to make a difference by creating a culture of support for those affected by family violence, and I call upon you to encourage all community members to help make our community violence-free in 2003 and beyond. You can speak up for those who are silenced. Looking for a motion? Thank you, Deputy Reeve Crick, for making a motion on behalf of council that council approves the proclamation of November 2023 as Family Violence Prevention Month within the municipal district of Bonnyville. That was an addition today, right? Okay, sorry, I didn't pick up on that. Sorry. I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. 10, no, sorry. Yeah, 10. 10.1, go ahead, Al.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. Members of council, this is just regarding this week's correspondence. We received a letter from the regional sports, or the minutes of the Regional Sports Tourism Committee meeting, letter from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police regarding Alberta Police Funding Model Resource Allocation, email from the Cherry Grove Recreation and Ag Society on their annual Trunk and Treat event on the 29th, save the date from Brownlee LLP, their Emerging Trends in Municipal Law, which is scheduled for February 15th. Thank you from Skijoring for multiple sclerosis, and the council action report.
Right, anybody want to comment on this or any questions? Okay, just looking for a motion then, gentlemen. Okay, thank you, Councillor Kraviak, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council accepts the following correspondence as information 1 through 6. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Just looking for reports from members of council. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just last Minicore meeting, just a couple of points. Travel Alberta is contemplating funding for staging areas in Bonnyville, Cold Lake, St. Paul, Smoky Lake, and Heinsberg. So along the trails, like there's one in Ardmore, there's one in Bonnyville. There's staging areas where people can park their vehicles and offload their quads or whatever. So it's kind of nice Travel Alberta's looking at this area and possibly helping fund some of that. The other point was the Iron Horse Trail is recognized as an artisan at work destination with the Economuse. So that's kind of good also. So they're promoting the trail and promoting this area. And then an Economic Development of Alberta Minister Dinner was the first one for myself, and the REIB was also there. It was, and we had some staff there also. Really good. We sat down with ministers at kind of dinner tables, and the format was, as you're kind of eating your meal, they had like 5 separate kind of parts to that meal. You'd have different ministers, or most of them actually were deputy ministers, sitting at your table, and you could ask them questions and have discussions with 8 or 10 people and the ministers. So it was a really good session to attend. We had Environment and Protected Areas Minister. We had Alberta Innovates. We had Alberta Indigenous Relations, Deputy Minister of Ag and Irrigation, and Deputy Minister of Forestry and Parks. So some good discussion.
Okay, that's okay. Councilor Crivia?
I have nothing to report. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Councilor Sitcha?
October 14th. October 14th, went to the Glennon Fire Department fundraiser, sold out crowd. 16th, Police Committee meeting, public safety, 151 traffic charges. Highest speed reached was 144 clicks per hour, and 3 failed to stop for peace officers. Cold Lake Bonneville, also very busy, a lot of stats, I just won't go through them. 18th, I had a lodge meeting. There's no more COVID outbreak at the Bonnie Lodge. Bonnie Lodge is doing quite well financially, still 15 vacant rooms, and Cold Lake has 9 vacancies. Once they get theirs filled up, they should be doing okay as well. The 18th had BRFA meeting. Power load stretchers were installed in ambulances, and the new ones will come with these power load stretchers. Municipal funding for BRFA is 21.9%, and the MD portion is 14%. 911 costing is $88,000, and the MD portion is 60% of that, which is just over $53,000. FCSS looking for some new space because of some issues. There's FCSSAA conference November 22nd to 24th, and we also reviewed the draft strategic plan. And one final meeting I had was the Northeast ASB at the Meaty Crossing. Doug McCauley gave a speech, and also we had Maureen Vadney talking about the FSC update, area-based and production-based insurance. We had an excellent presentation by Don Christensen, diversifying your operation. He has that 45 acres of land just west of Smoky Lake called Linda's Market Gardens, and he gave the 6 P's of success: product, purchase, people, presentation, promotion, and price. And he's has no use for climate change. He says that's a bunch of BS. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Slipchuk.
I got evidence that I attended a LAR board meeting and just bring that to everybody's attention here that they're going to be they're requesting extra funding coming following next year, as their costs have gone up too. And also on the comedy night that Willow Prairie Hall had on Saturday, I guess I didn't get to make it, something came up, but talked to many individuals that went there. They said it was a great event and it was a good turnout, and I'm glad that they're doing well and trying to keep that all going.
Thank you.
That's it.
Councilor Scarson?
Well, I was at the Chamber of Commerce meeting last week, and it was our first one, I guess, since before the oil show, and so there's a little bit of report on that, and it turned out to be a very good show, they said. Attendance was good, and a lot of the feedback was that a lot of the vendors thought it was even better than the Calgary show, so that was good to hear. So, and then, yeah, not much after that with them. It was business as usual. So, That's the only one since last time.
Thank you. Deputy Reeve?
The 14th is at the Glendon Fireball. On the 16th, I attended the Cold Lake Air Show Corporate Opportunities Luncheon. That was just a kind of a luncheon for the sponsors. They're looking for more sponsors. They presented this book to the MD, so if anybody wants to have a look at that, it's sitting here. On the 17th, you get Committee of the Whole. The 19th was a BRFA meeting. I think Councillor Kriviak covered that. We also approved ordering a new ambulance, as one of ours is smiling out. On the 19th, we had FCSS, and I think Councillor Kriviak covered most of what we talked about there as well. There's concerns in regards to the space that they're in, safety concerns, which there was a letter drafted, sent to the town and the MD, so I'm sure you'll be seeing that shortly. On the 20th, I attended the Cold Lake Business of the Year Awards, and not only is Councillor Ferdeyev a great councillor, but he's also a great businessman, offering great customer experiences to his customers at Vans Vintage, as he won an award there, so it's good to see.
Good job, Ben.
He won the award for most promising new business, so it's pretty exciting.
Yep, very good.
And then the 20th was the Regional Ag Service Board Conference, and I did take a bunch of notes at that, but I think Councillor Kriviak covered most of it. There was a few things. Linda Hunt gave it from Agno. She talked about mental health in farmers, said that 20% of farmers are experiencing extremely high anxiety levels, and a lot of them don't even want to live anymore, which I don't see that here, but that's what she said for her statistics. And they do have free sessions if people need mental health supports there. There was also some discussion there that came out during Don Christensen's speech about, he's the guy that has that market garden, and the problems they had to get access off of Highway 28 to get their business started. And just a lot of people in the room related to that there's businesses that want to start, but there's issues with Alberta Transportation getting access from highways. So, and one other thing here, I'm going to bring it up during council action report, was we received an email from, we were all CC'd on it, from Scott Sear and Brian Jean. And it's a sport in regards to the sport fishing development trial in northeastern Alberta lakes. And they want to, they've come up with a plan to try stocking some lakes with perch and walleye, particularly in northeastern Alberta. Angling Lake's one of them. I think Moose Lake, there's a bunch in this area, it's all in the letter. And I'd like to request that we that we send a letter of support, I guess, to the minister for that. I think it'd be great for our area. So I don't know if you need an official motion for that, or if it's just, if we can get that done though.
Yes.
Do you want to comment on that, Al?
Thank you, Mr. Members of Council. First of all, my apologies to Councillor Crick. He asked me the other day to remind him to put that on the agenda today. And apparently I needed somebody to remind me. As there's no funding required, we can certainly write a letter of support for the Reeves signature. I wouldn't need a motion for that.
You would need?
I wouldn't need.
Okay, then we're good.
Okay, thank you, and that's it
If
for me then.
everybody's okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, what's going on?
You'll get over it. Okay, thanks. Or you'll throw something at me. Okay, Councillor Fadeo.
Yeah, since we're talking about letter of support, the FCSS St. Paul, Bonneville, and Cold Lake have sent out a letter to Minister Dan Williams, Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, about a possible location for they call it the Lakeland Regional Recovery Center Initiative. And I mean, they're doing letters on the FCSS's behalf, but I think it's really important for municipalities to get involved as well. And I would like to send, on behalf of the MD of Bonneville, a letter of support to this initiative of the Recovery Center, and send it right to Mr. Williams. And yeah,
okay,
if everybody's in favor of that.
Yeah.
Good. Al, we're good with that? Okay, thank you. So, again, Business of the Year awards, and the, let me just get on my notes.
This is where you're going to talk about himself for a while here,
Oh,
guys.
yeah, no, we're good. So we're kind of, the recycling conference, was really good. A lot of the talk was on the EPR conversation, so it's being implemented. We were the last province to really get on board with it, so it's good and bad. Bad to show leadership that we're so far behind, but yes, also good because we can learn from the other provinces. It's about the circular economy and the EPR framework. Producers accept all of the costs, so basically from cradle to the grave. During all that, again, that was about a 3 or 4 hour talk. It was really good. Another thing, we kind of was sitting beside the guys from Peace River during that whole meeting. Waste to energy was mentioned 3 times by the province. First time we've ever heard them mention that, so it looks like, they got some positive results coming out of Peace River, so we should be getting ready for that. And, another strange one here, it's the right to repair legislation is coming through the federal government. Basically, there was a repair cafe where people try to fix stuff, and they fixed a vacuum cleaner, and the actual vacuum cleaner manufacturer sued that little non-for-profit organization for tampering with, I guess.
The product.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, so patent laws and all that stuff. So it's crazy how we can't fix stuff anymore, but just some of the silly things like that they're keeping on online and pushing things forward. So it was really, really good to see.
Okay, thank you guys for all your reports. It's mostly covered on but I just wanted to have one comment on the Glendon Fireman's Ball there. We had 5 of us attend, 4 for a while, until I realized there was 5. And I apologize to Councillor Scarson again for not noticing him. I think he had a wig on and I couldn't find him out there. But the one thing that I took away from that, the fire chief, Amalia, his speech was incredible. He was, if you were there, you had to tip your hat to the man, the speech he gave. And then to see his wife there, this is this lady's very, very sick, and she put on her party outfit and came out to the event, and we got a lot to be thankful for our health, and this lady's fighting health, and so I really out to the Amalia family for that, and I seen them take a family picture there. It was pretty touching. So. Do we have anything in closed session? No. I need someone to adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Councillor Kraviak, good to go.
Homework.
Yeah, the book we don't want to get.
Just